All right, ladies and gentlemen, hope we're doing super well today. It is time to begin this weekend event. Now, in case you don't know why you're here, does anybody not know why we're here today? I think we all know why we're here. We are here to learn all about short-term rental properties. I'm excited because we got a masterclass that y'all are about to get today with our awesome people from Blue Ocean Property Group, from Allison and Keith. Come on, give it up real quick for them. Online audience, if you are tuning in, do me a solid, throw up a reaction, throw me a thumbs up. I can see you over here. And do me a favor, if you are with us, definitely turn on your cameras. Shout out to Erica. I see your heart. I like that. I like that. Catherine, I see that in the comments. I love it. I love it. This is going to be an amazing event, but I always say this. What's going on, my man? I see you. I always want to say this. You're going to get out what you put in. That's just the bottom line. All right. If we're going to sit back and just observe, kind of just see, oh, you know, is the wood real, or is this really worth my time? You're going to get the answer, right? But if you stay engaged, you take notes, you follow the workbook, you ask questions, you adhere to what's being shared, you take part in the engagement activities, you will greatly increase the chances of getting the results that you want from doing short-term rental properties. Okay, so if you're here to flip houses, wrong room, this ain't the one. If you're here for any other real estate strategy other than short-term rentals, hey, we're gonna have a different conversation. But if you're looking to really understand the game of short-term rental properties, understand how to get one unit and scale and do more, we got the right people in the room, you have the right resources so that you can do everything that you desire, all right? And so I definitely want to welcome each and every one of you. For those who don't know me, my name is Daniel Blakegrove. I'm going to be the moderator and the host for today's event. So you'll see me hanging out both in the room and on Zoom. So definitely stay buckled, stay seated. We're going to have a really, really fun time. Now, before I get myself out of the way, I just want to go through a few, housekeeping stuff. There you go. Come on, you're with me now. I like it. So, the first thing I want to talk about is, particularly for the in-person people, right, there are certain protocols that need to be adhered to. And so if you have any questions about washrooms, about what to do when you're outside of this room, or how to conduct yourself with regards to staying within the guidelines and the protocols, we have an awesome friend named Sal who will be helping us with everything. So Sal, when it comes to parking, if you have any issues whatsoever with the hotel, definitely reach out to him. He'll be able to take care of you real good. All right. Now, for the online audience, for those on Zoom, I definitely want to implore you, turn on your cameras. Let's stay engaged. Let's stay apart, because it's going to be really fun today. I think it's going to be awesome. We're actually trying a new thing. All right. We're trying a new thing that we haven't done with CashFlow Tribe events before. And this is our first time launching, and I think it's going to be really cool. I'm super excited for it. So in order for us to maximize what this is going to look like, I need you to turn your cameras on. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And I'm really looking forward to it. Now, I'm going to walk through one thing real quick. It's going to be our dashboard. All right. Has anybody been on the CashFlow Tribe event dashboard? Does anybody not know what I'm talking about when I say the CashFlow Tribe event dashboard? Okay, I got one person. 2, 3. Anybody else not know what I'm talking about when I talk about the dashboard? All right, on Zoom, if you're on Zoom, let me know in the comments. Give me a reaction. Let me know if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the dashboard. All right, so you would have gotten an email that was sent out for the login, and on the login page, right, it's called Obvio. When you go on, it's going to ask you to enter your email twice. And so even if you're in person, you can do this on your computer as well, or on your phone. You should have gotten an email. Just check your inbox. You would have gotten a link that will take you to a page to log into the dashboard. All you got to do is put in your email in twice. For some of you, it may look like you have to enter an email and password, but all you got to do is just enter your email in twice. Even if you see the black dots, just enter your email in twice and then hit submit. And then when you hit submit, you're going to get to what we call the dashboard. Now, this is going to say CashFlow Tribe up top, and it's going to say Tactical Workshop Dashboard. All right. So let me know if you're on that page, especially people on Zoom, because this is definitely, all right, Catherine, I see you. You're on it. Anyone else on it? Give me a reaction. Robert, you got it. I see you. Who else? Let me know. All right. I'm going to walk you through the interactive dashboard so that you know exactly how to maximize the opportunity with what we're putting together. So, give me a second here. So on the first, you'll see two buttons on the first one. It's called Join Call. So if you're not on the Zoom call yet, I mean, you should be if you're seeing me right now. But the first button is Join Call. The next one underneath the Join Call button is the speakers, right? About Keith and Allison. If you want more information about who they are, what they do, why they're even speaking to you today, there's a bit of information there that'll help give you some context as to what to expect from these two awesome people from Blue Ocean Property Group. Now, if you don't know what this event is about, I got a big YouTube video right on the left-hand side there that'll describe what this event's about, what you can look forward to. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see a number of resources, all right? You should be seeing this, especially for those in person. You see it on the screen now. You see it on the right-hand side, resources, right? There's a number of different things you can click on, whether it's the handbook, right, which is fillable. So highly recommend take that handbook, download it on your computer, and definitely fill it out. If you're in person, you've got that with you on your table, so you're good to go. But for those online, it is a fillable PDF, meaning you can fill out the information that you'll get from today so that you'll retain it, all right? They say if you just hear it, you're not gonna be that affected. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's pretty low. But if you hear it and you write it and then go back to it and recall it, it's extremely high that you'll remember it and you'll be able to take action. So super, super important. We got a number of other things as well, such as the property list that we'll be going through, the setup questionnaire, how to the webinar recap in case you haven't checked out the webinar that we did with Allison and Keith earlier. And so definitely check that out when you have a chance, maybe on break or later this evening. So, and then there's another link on the bottom. How much can I make on Airbnb? It's a really cool link to check out as well. So we got a podcast as well that you can check out, and also with Allison and Keith. But on the bottom of the right-hand side, you'll see buttons here to follow on Instagram, join the membership on CashFlow Tribe if you haven't already. Who hasn't joined? Who does not have a CashFlow Tribe membership? Just real quick. Who does not? Who does not? All right. Here's an opportunity. Don't worry, it's free 99. All you gotta do is just click that link and it'll take you right to the page so you can sign up with an account. And for those who are on Zoom, and if you haven't already, you can do it on the dashboard as well. All right, give me a thumbs up. How we doing so far in person? How are we doing so far? All good? All right, thank you. Okay, so now here's the catch, all right? When I say you gotta be engaged, we want you to be engaged, okay? See, this whole dashboard ain't just here just so that it looks good. And I got a shout out to the CashFlow Tribe team for putting this together. But really, this is actually a point system. See, when you interact with this page, and this is including for all of us here in person as well. You can do this on your phone or your computer if you brought that with you here today. You will definitely be able to create points. See, you might see here under the CashFlow credits emblem here, there's a credit balance. For every time you go on this website and you interact with some of these buttons, you will get points. And I can break it down for you real quick. So let me just go to the page here. So for example, just being on this dashboard, you should see that you have 50 credits or 50 points, just for being on the dashboard, right? When you click on the speaker button, you get additional points, right? And so all of these points will add up and there will be a leaderboard. And based on who's at the top of the leaderboard, they will be rewarded. All right, I gotta go quickly here because I want to make sure we're on time. And so, as you continue to click the buttons such as join Instagram, join the Facebook group, Zero to Hero podcast, accelerator program, you will get points. All right, and keep in mind though, all of these points are the same except for a few. Right. So when you join the Facebook group and you click on the accelerator program and you click on the accountability intensive button. There are a range of points and they're randomized. That way, we can clearly define who's the first, second, and third winner and really identify who's on the leaderboard. Speaking of such, you can even get points for clicking on the leaderboard. And if you want to know how to find that leaderboard, all you got to do is click on the link right under your balance. Right under your balance, you just got to click here, and you'll see who's leading at points. And you'll see all those who are registered with their names, who's first, second, third, last, and go from there. All right? Hope y'all doing well. Okay, so I think other than that, that is really all of the announcements I have for today. But before I get out of here, I gotta do my due diligence and make sure you understand who exactly is gonna be teaching today. All right? So first of all, I'm gonna start off with the awesome and amazing, the one of one, Keith Makse. All right? He's been investing in real estate. Come on, put those hands together. I like that. We need more of that. All right. I love it. Since 2011, he has owned and operated multiple businesses, all right? So just so we're clear, this isn't his first go-round, all right? And so he has, including 2 video game studios in his career, which I'm very upset with because if I had known him earlier, I definitely would have been a customer. 100% I would have, for sure. And so his experience in his previous businesses, including video games, has allowed him to learn the value of OPM and raising over not 1, not 2, not even 3, but $5 million, right, over his 2 businesses to create an innovative Canadian cultural content. And this is important because he's going to be able to tie this experience into how he does his Airbnb business today, right? A lot of us may not understand, even if we're doing things that have nothing to do with Airbnb, there may be skills that you've accumulated and have acquired that can help you with what you are going to learn today. And Keith is going to show you along his journey how he's doing that now. And so, since then, he has fully engaged himself with his real estate career with Blue Ocean Property Group, focused on a cloud-based marketing platform to help with the travel industry, which is another thing as well. Now, let me move on to the other business partner. Now, put your hands together for the lovely Allison Pazuk. Oh, I don't hear y'all. I didn't see some reactions on Zoom. Oh, Coach Rude, I see you. I like it. So Allison started investing in real estate back in 2016 and did the traditional plan of to buy 1 property, save, then buy another property. Anyone heard that strategy before? Buy 1, save 20%, buy another. Anyone heard that before? Yeah, she tried that. And so, but however, when she joined the council, which is the mastermind for CashFlow Tribe, she had been able to accelerate her real estate investing journey. So much so that she was able to not only leave her job, but she was also able to retire her husband, Terry, who's now as well helping with her real estate business. That's amazing, right? Isn't that an amazing dream to be able to retire a spouse, retire parents, right? There's not many people who can say they've done that. And so that's an amazing feat. Shout out to you, Allison, right? And so besides scaling the flipping business, Allison is also a market leader along with Keith in the Airbnb management with plans to scale nationally. I didn't say citywide, I said nationally, and as well into the USA and the Caribbean. And so we're not just talking about people who have 1 unit here and just say, okay, let's create a course, let's show you how to do Airbnb. No, these people are taking it big, they're doing it bigger, and they're gonna take everyone along so we can all win together. And so I'm gonna get out of the way, and I wanna welcome, put it up on Zoom, in person, put your hands together for Blue Ocean Property Group, Allison and Keith.
Thank you. So, awesome to see everybody here today. Thank you very much for coming out. And we have a lot of information for you. So if everybody has a belt, just tighten it up a little bit. We're going to run fast as we can. Over the next few hours, we'll share everything that we know about short-term rentals as much as we can fit into the time slot that we have. There's so much that we've learned over the past couple of years that we can't fit everything into today. But we're going to give you all the highlights, and of course, we're also, anybody online and everybody here, you can contact, reach us. We're happy to discuss with anybody what we're doing and where we're growing and maybe how you can even be involved. So, Allison, I'm going to turn over the microphone to you.
Perfect. And just want to echo what Keith is saying and what Daniel has said as well, is you're going to get out what you put in. We have huge amount of information, as we mentioned, for you. And I just really, even if, it doesn't matter how many Airbnbs you have, whether you're brand new or perhaps you have a few of them already, you're going to be getting all sorts of strategies, tips, tricks. If you implement one of them, I guarantee you're going to be able to benefit the price that you've paid to be here. So I just wanted to start off with that and just make sure that you do pay attention. And we are going to be using the workbook a little bit as we're going throughout the day. So just as Daniel was saying, if you're online, thank you for joining us, and do make sure that you download that tactical handbook as well. Okay, now what I do want to ask, we're going to have these little blue ocean moments throughout the day. So what I want to ask is, how many of you have stayed in an Airbnb before? Okay, so a few of you have. What I'd love for you to do is, among your table group, or if you're online in the chat, discuss it with each other. I'm not 100% sure how it works online, if they can talk amongst each other, can they? Perfect, Daniel's on it, so he'll help you out with that if you're online. What I'd like for you to do is to talk about that Airbnb experience that you had. Did it meet your expectations? So when you looked at it online and you booked it, and then you went there and you walked in the door, did it meet your expectations? Okay, I'm gonna write these on the whiteboard so that you'll know what to talk about. What were some of the highlights about that particular Airbnb? What were some of the dislikes? Things that you would have done differently if you had been the host? And also, did you leave a review? Okay, so I'm just gonna give you about 5 minutes, just have a quick chat, introduce each other. Hold on, introduce yourself. You don't wanna introduce each other if you haven't met before, right? That's kind of silly. So anyway, introduce yourself and just have a quick chat about your experience, okay? All right, I think we've had some pretty good discussions going on here, and I'm watching the chat from the online group, and just a few highlights that I can see from the online people, and that is Dina mentioning that it's kind of tough to find places that have all of the amenities for small children. So for those of you looking at doing short-term rentals, that may be a point that you think of, is that you want to have some cribs or high chairs or something along that line. But if you do make sure that you have it in your listing, which we're going to get to later, to point that out, to be able to support people like that. And also leaving reviews, contacting the host if there is a problem, to give the host a chance to fix it before you complain about it. So I'm glad to see those. What I would like to do is, within the room, just sort of pick on each table individually and just have someone tell me a highlight. So you think I'm gonna go to you first, but I'm not. I'm gonna go back here. Yeah, I can.
No, that's as far as you're going.
That's as far as I'm going. Okay, so you're gonna have to speak loud. From this table, what's a highlight that you discussed from your adventures in Airbnb land?
I think you had the best one, so you go ahead.
Yeah, there was a few. One was when you checked into the Airbnb, we weren't expecting, there was a wine bottle waiting for us. That was the Alberta one. And then in Spain, there was one where they wrote your name and just kind of gave you a welcome greeting. It was handwritten. So I thought those, so simple, but so memorable.
Oh, that's perfect. So just in case you couldn't hear that, the first visit was in Alberta, and there was a wine bottle, a bottle of wine, not just a bottle, that was left for them to welcome them. Also some handwritten notes, just something personal that a hotel wouldn't do, right? And that's what's different about us with short-term rentals, is that you are personalizing things for people. All right, how about this table? Who wants to speak? Dennis.
So I think what I really liked when we visited Airbnbs was the notes. Like if they told us there's a supermarket nearby, or there's this restaurant that you should visit, or you should check out this trail, or on this day this is really nice. I think those things are what makes that experience even notes. Or I think I really like the rule books. Weirdly enough, the rule books really make it this has been an experience that you spent the time to curate for us, and I really like that.
Wonderful, thank you. So guidebooks, rule books, especially for rule followers like Dennis. And what about over here?
I think Kyle has the best highlight, and I might have the best course.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the highlight.
Well, she said, like having the hot water tank, having long-lasting hot water, having the right hot water tank really helps after a long day of coming out from activities.
Excellent.
To relax.
That's actually a really good point. One that I hadn't thought of is making sure that you do have a really good hot water tank, one that's big enough in volume, particularly if you have, say, 10 guests that can stay there. You don't want to have a 20-gallon water tank. Okay?
Wait, I was just wondering, so Kyle, tell everybody what you liked the most about your stay.
Well, there's on one of them, there's pinball machines and stuff. They invested in a bunch of Atari games and stuff, so it's cool.
Cool. I'm assuming you mean in the Airbnb, not on the hot water heater. Yeah, okay.
Separate issues.
Yes, okay. All right. And T, what was your something that was not so good?
Yeah, so I chose Airbnb in Niagara Falls specifically because it had a big jacuzzi tub and a fancy shower, and there wasn't enough hot water to sustain the entire jacuzzi tub, or have a shower and a tub at the same time. It was so disappointing.
Oh my goodness, that would be disappointing. So if you have amenities, make sure they're usable. Awesome. What do I have next on our, we've got so much. I do have to keep checking my notes, making sure we're staying on topic and what have you. Oh, I know what I was gonna ask you. Who managed it? Do you know? Was it the owner themselves? Was it a co-host? Or was it a management company? Does anyone know? Oh, the room falls silent.
All of the Airbnbs I've stayed in have been maintained by the owner of the Airbnb, from what I can tell.
Okay, so T's thinking that all of hers have been owner operated. How about in the chat? Anyone saying anything in there? No? Oh, there's one.
Yeah, so Dina says, all the ones I have stayed in were managed by owners. Drew says, I have stayed in owner operated, and Deanna says, owner slash co-host as rented.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. So for those of you that were on our short-term rental webinar, you know the differences between all three strategies. So the co-hosting, the owner-operated, and a management company. So I'm gonna just do a quick pick on you. And can someone tell me, what is co-hosting? What does that mean?
Do I have to raise my hand or can I just?
Yeah, just yell it out.
So I wasn't in that training, so this is just a hopefully educated guess. Co-hosting, I would assume, is what we would probably be doing, where we're working with the homeowner to kind of help them have some passive revenue through this income stream.
Perfect. Actually, you described it really well. So co-hosting is where someone is going to be hosting the property with the owner, and they do all of the hard work, the active piece of it. Okay. Management is essentially like a property management company. So the management people, they come in and they're taking over and they're looking after everything. The arbitrage also falls into things where you as a tenant are renting a property and then you are then putting it on Airbnb with the landlord's permission. Okay, so do make sure that you get that permission as well. And then owner-operator is kind of obvious, right? The owner is operating it themselves. So just wanted to quickly go through that. And the other thing that I wanted to draw your attention to, for those of you in person, if you flip to, I believe it's page 8 in your handbook, and online, just so that you know, there is a glossary in the back. There is, just like everything nowadays, there are acronyms for everything. So we did include a glossary. So if we're saying something you're not sure what it is, just jot it down. Take a look in the glossary. If you can't find it, do reach out and ask us what it is. Okay, so I just want to draw your attention to that. And then everyone's here to be able to learn about short-term rentals, and you're like, yeah, move on with it, Allison, come on, I want to really learn. Hey, Kyle, good to see you. So let's move on with it. Now that you're here, you have a vision. All right, maybe I want to be a short-term rental person, use it as my strategy, but I got to prep for it, and how do I do it? And so that's why you're here in this session. So I'm going to flip it back to Keith, my brilliant Airbnb Keith, and he's going to fill you in and help you out with some of those details.
All right, so let's start off. What do you think the most important thing of operating in Airbnb happens to be in terms of skills? Is it going to be your finance skills? It's going to be your project management skills? No? Anyone? Any ideas?
I want to say communication skills.
Communication, that's an excellent one. Yeah. Dennis, you raised your hand.
No, I was thinking, I was getting blanked out.
Blanked out, okay.
I heard.
Yeah, no, communication by far is one of the most important skills that you can have. Yes, and online there's
Yes,
some.
from Zoom, Erica says customer service, and she also said communication. And as
Bingo.
well as Deanna and Dina. Dina said customer service.
There you go, customer service, and I would say that is by far number one. You are dealing with customers. You're dealing with people who are going to be coming in the transaction is basically they're going to stay at a place that you've arranged for them, and you want to make sure that they have an excellent experience. So that customer service is by far got to be the best skill set that you're building. And then after that is going to be communication. You want to make sure that the communication with all of those people is very clear, very concise, that you don't leave things kind of open for interpretation. You want to be very, very precise with the communication at times. So for instance, if you're communicating, like, where is the laundry soap, right? If you have laundry services at your site, at your location, where do you have that served? So it's just little things where you can actually very, very skillfully take the time and write it down. So it could be into your house rules, so we'll go over that in a little bit. It could be in some of the automated communications, or just if you're doing a one-of, and you really like the hustle and bustle of communication, you can get on your phone or on your computer and just tell them everything, where everything is. So it really depends on where you're going with your Airbnb or short-term rental property, because if you're trying to scale and you want to have multiple properties, you need to have systems in place. But if you're doing a one-of and maybe you're enjoying the whole process and the entire journey, then it becomes a lot more of, wow, my phone really wants to do this. Great, we got a good participant there, but she doesn't get it yet. So anyway, it really comes down to what is the whole process? What are you trying to do? How do you want to do it? One of the things that we've learned is obviously when you're communicating with guests, and if you have more than one property, even with one, it can be a lot of communication that you're dealing with. So you want to make sure you take the time, talk to every one of those people, to welcome them into the unit, to greet them. Like, there's a whole process, an entire message communication cycle that I use to make sure that these people are feeling welcome, even when they just reach out as an inquiry. So we're going to go through a lot of, we're going to assume that everybody here is at least somewhat familiar with Airbnb. We're going to go over also, this covers VRBO, Booking.com, dozens of other channels out there. So we're not going to really be specific. So if I ever use the term Airbnb, I'm just referring to short-term rentals in general. Okay. That's true. That's entirely true. Yeah, and they had their IPO, so they're very litigious right now. So yeah, we want to make sure that that we know what we're doing with those guests. The guests are going to be the most important part of our business. But if you're doing something like management or arbitrage, then you have a second guest. The second guest is going to be your landlord or the investor that you're working with. So now you just made your life twice as hard. You need to make sure that those people are going to be kept as happy as you can, and that you're paying your rent if you're doing arbitrage, or you're providing owner's statements, providing all the details of, depending on what the deal is that you have through management, then you can have an entirely different set of expenses that you're going to have to roll out to them. So for instance, when you're dealing with expenses, you have cleaners, you have all of your consumables, you'll have your toilet paper, your paper towels, maybe foodstuffs, you'll have coffee in a lot of cases. Really, the whole idea of those things is that when somebody comes into your space, you want to make it feel like a home, that it's welcoming presence for them. And these are all those little details that when you walk into a space, when you already have your home, it's already set up. You've spent years, you already knew you needed toilet paper, so you went out to the grocery store. And another day, you went out and got your coffee when you needed that. But this is a new guest every single time. So at the very beginning, you need to make sure that these guests are going to be welcomed in by having all those amenities, all those basic attributes. You've communicated with them, and you made sure that they're all feeling welcome. So different ways to do that. First of all, we have our communication. So in the initial communication on these platforms, there'll be an inquiry or a booking that will happen. that is the very first time you get to communicate with this guest. So, you can have a message. I have a series of automated messages. I use different tools that will allow me to do this. But it's something like, hey, thanks so much for reaching out. Would love to help you out. I'm a little busy right now. I'm not going to be able to reach out to you right away, but I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks so much for your inquiry. And then when I get a chance, I'll follow up with the actual message that said, when I have a chance to read what their inquiry is. Maybe they're traveling with family. Maybe they're, maybe it's, me and my friends are looking for a place, where my friends turn 21. Okay, well, they're not coming into my place because that just means a party, but we'll go over that in a bit. The people that are inquiring with you really want to see that human engagement, that there is somebody on the other end. So the communication that you're using is going to be allowing them to understand exactly what your space is, who you are. You can actually begin a little bit of a dialogue with them as well. It's like, hey, what's bringing you into town? Oh, and this is where you can find out a little bit of information, the backstory of why they're actually traveling. And then that can help you in two different ways. One, it helps you screen your guests, because some guests are not good guests. That will happen. But primarily it's to find out, oh, we're coming in for an anniversary. Fantastic. Would love to have you here to celebrate this anniversary. Then you can get a bottle of wine, a bottle of champagne, something along those lines, and welcome that guest in. And then that gives that little personal touch that, hey, I wasn't expecting this. As you said, having that bottle of wine was a perfect little treat that you didn't expect, right? So I have this idea that every guest that comes into my properties, I want to surprise them and I want to delight them. I want to make sure that they have something that exceeds their expectations right at the very beginning of the trip. They might stay for one night. They might stay for 1 week. They might stay for 1 month. They might even stay longer. You never know. Like when people are coming in, you'll see that booking reservation. It might be a 2-month stay. Somebody's needing a new place because they're in a middle of a renovation. Other people might be traveling because, well, heck, they're just going out to see some friends, and their friends don't have a big place, and they want a place of their own. For instance, I'll be traveling down to Niagara this Christmas to visit my in-laws, and I don't want to stay at the in-laws, so I'll be staying at an Airbnb or a short-term rental that I can. So you never know why people are staying, and it gives you that opportunity to get to know them a little bit better, provide them a personalized, customized experience, and be able to welcome them into the property. The downside of that, if you are doing a more personalized engagement, is that it's very difficult to scale that. If you're the person who wants to have, say, 20, 30 short-term rentals, then having a system where everyone gets personalized, either you need a strong team behind you locally that's going to be able to run around and, buy a bottle of wine, put it in, buy some chocolates, put it in, buy some roses, put it in. It becomes a lot of running around in a very difficult way of just doing all of that sort of physical labor that's going to be required. It's a lot of time that goes into it. So there are ways that you're going to be able to mitigate that. So a handwritten note is a fantastic way to welcome people. There's nothing to let them know if I have a nice printed off note and I just sign my name to it that is fairly generic. I can actually give them that personalized touch without necessarily calling out their name. It's, say, Allison is coming to my place. It's like, hey, so thankful that we're welcoming a new guest. We really love you coming to this space. We hope that you have everything that you need. If you need anything at all, please reach out. Here's my number. Here's my email. Here's my whatever way to contact me as. And then it gives another opportunity there as well. But having that communication where somebody is welcomed in, they get a little welcome gift, you can actually systematize that process. So that's something that you'll be able to do. Just want to go over my notes here because I don't remember everything, as Allison quite well knows. An important part of the entire customer service experience. So if anybody I don't know if CashFlow Tribe has done that. I know in council we have. In the predictive index, we take a look at what your level of sociability is. So how sociable are you? Are you somebody who really loves to engage with others? Or do you like to be you think of yourself as an introvert and, thank goodness COVID came along and all the doors closed. So it really comes down to how social are you? Because this is a very, not necessarily in person, but a lot of that communication, it's very important to make sure that you have that ability to engage with people easily and leave with a smile on their face, and then you know that you're going to have a happy customer. This is great. Let's move on to the next one.
Just want to jump in there as well. Can just imagine you're going to an Airbnb and you're communicating with someone. So just imagine the way that Daniel would come across in a message. Even though it's just a message, his personality's going to come out. That bubbly, welcome to my space, I'm so excited to have you here, versus someone who is a little bit more perhaps tactical and they're like, yeah, great, thanks for coming, here's the code, right? It's the different way that you make that guest feel. So just as Keith was saying, in that predictive index, the B is your personality, well, I shouldn't say personality, it's your extrovert, introvert type of scenario. So as you'll be able to see, Keith is a lot higher in the B section than I am, believe it or not. So he has a lovely way to communicate with the guests, where, he's given me different scenarios. Can you believe this is what the guest is doing? We had one that the son was peeing in the yard, and I'm like, oh dear God, tell them to pack their bags, just get them out of there. And he's like, well, maybe we should find out why. And he's just a little bit better about keeping the guests around. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, and that's true. Like with guests, there's going to be a lot of challenges that you're going to go through. And we're going to go through some of those at the end of the day. We have a few case studies in the tactical handbook for those online. If you're skipping ahead, that's great. We're going to take a look at those and we're going to get your thoughts on how to deal with that. I actually have a lot more than those three. And those are my top three for how would you handle this? Because this is the stuff I had to handle without knowledge, without knowing how to deal with it. And it becomes very much a customer service because you're weighing out that difference between, you have revenue coming in. That's great. But if I kick somebody out, do I lose that revenue? What happens if I kick somebody out? Do I actually block out that part of my calendar? Do I get to open it up? Can I get somebody else in? Then I also have to deal with negative consequences. So I can get a negative review if I, remove somebody without any necessary requirement to do so. Or if there is, they can still be retaliatory and leave a negative response for you. Or they just might be telling all their friends. This is very much a word of mouth business. Once you start up and get going for a while, you want to start getting more of those direct bookings, repeat customers. It's a great way with those repeat customers that you have that background of people who are going to be coming in and paying for your product and providing another space. And you don't have as much, if you know that you have a certain family that always travels at, say, Diwali, and they want to get together with their friends and family. That's great. Let's bring you in. Oh, Diwali's coming up. I'm going to invite them to come back out, and they'll probably stay again if that's the case. So there's a lot of opportunities there to engage with people, but you really have to weigh the pros and the cons of every decision that's going to go on that's going to affect either positively or negatively that stats there. Yeah, and that's a great question. Are there any questions online that anybody has that I see there's a lot in the chat, but I'm wondering if Daniel, you might be able to see if there's any.
Yes, there is one question from Kadru. So he says, when the technology will allow, no, that's a comment. Sorry, Dina says, do you have your potential clients fill out the predictive index?
Right now, we haven't started with that. We actually do want to do that into the future, especially where one of the challenges that we see with the management and less so with arbitrage is that we need to make sure that that landlord, that owner, ultimately, they're not a landlord because they're licensing us the property instead of leasing it to us. we want to make sure that they're going to be the right fit for us. So people have to fit within our scope, our business model of the property that we're looking for. So we have a certain type of property that we look for, certain type of revenue, certain type of amenities. But then we also want to make sure that on the other end that investor that we're working with is going to be the right investor, that they're going to be out there, they're going to be fixing the toilet as soon as it needs it, or give us the leeway in order to get that done as quickly as possible. Because let me tell you, if you have a guest that comes in and they break a toilet at 3 o'clock in the morning because they went out and partied and broke the toilet, it's the typical horror story that real estate investors already go through, but now you have to deal with it because, well, that could be a negative review. If they broke the toilet and now the water's flowing and flooding in, what do you do? Right? This is one of those situations that you may think is only theoretical, but these things happen. So it really does make a difference, Kadru, for how the person that you're working with. And I think giving that predictive index as just to get a brief glimpse into their background, their personality, and ask them to get into those conversations where you can find out what they've actually done in the past in terms of their other properties. How quickly did they handle things? You'll get a sense of if they're the right fit or not.
Awesome. All right, so the second question comes from Robert. But before I get to I saw Pazuk's comment, just want to read it out real quick. It says, when the technology will allow, I will ask Daniel to deliver a welcome message via hologram. So I just want to let everybody know, I will be delivering this for $9.97. Pazuk, I'll give you a discount of $9.95. But other than that, yeah, just reach out to me if you have any questions. But the next comment, and more importantly from Robert, he says, when you work with a management company, will they be listed as the host, or will you or will you as the owner?
So if you're the owner, you can list yourself as the host. You can actually bring on co-hosts on the Airbnb platform. I know with some of the other ones, the way we work as a management company, we will work with the owners. We just need access in order to get access to their accounts. We don't change anything. All we do is we add them into our basically what's called a channel manager. So this allows us to get onto all those different platforms, VRBO, Booking.com, Mr. B&B, Flipkey, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's dozens. I always talked about the top three there. That's where, 99% of the business is coming from these days. So going back to that, I think it's important to recognize that with the technology that you're using, it really will limit or benefit the management side. So you can always bring them in. It becomes a little bit more of a challenge in order to balance them out and to weigh them out in terms of how you're actually going to be communicating. You have some instant messaging platforms. You have the ability to get people to communicate with your cleaners, to set up tasks for your cleaning team. These are all going to be very important parts of that entire process. Having the technology to be able to do that is an important part.
Go on. Actually, I don't know if you have any questions in here. Sorry. Watch that first.
Yeah, sure. So let's see. Yeah, you have a question.
Yeah. What channel manager?
So right now we're currently using Guesty. We're actually going to be leaving that platform. There's plenty out there. There's Hostfully has one, IGMS. There's literally dozens. You can actually look up short-term rental channel manager on Google, and that'll actually give you a lot out there.
Yeah. A lot of choices.
So you've already done that. So really what it's going to come down to is what are the features that it actually has and what you want it to do. So if you just want to have a channel manager, which is going to have all those different platforms all together in one, and you have a messaging platform, and that's all you need, almost every one of them will do that. But if you're looking for other things, such as being able to communicate with your cleaning team and send them tasks. So we'll get into cleaning teams in a bit. But cleaning teams and their tasks, what is a task list for them to actually go through and clean that property? We kind of want to systematize that. We want to make sure that the clean gets done as quickly and efficiently as possible, especially when I was having a chat earlier, laundry is the biggest challenge that you're going to have. And the reason why is that laundry takes time. You can have a 3-bedroom home and all of a sudden laundry is going to take 4 or 5 hours. You might have a guest leaving at 11 o'clock and another guest arriving at 3 because you decided to allow them an early check-in. You now have 4 hours to do, say, 5 hours of laundry. That's going to be a real challenge, right? So you need to balance out those things, and where do the systems come into place? What are the ways to communicate with those cleaners so that they're actually aware of the limitations, the time that they have. And you don't want, I've actually caught my cleaners once where they took out the laundry, it was a little bit damp, and they wanted to make the beds with it. And I'm like, nope, we're gonna have to push off the guests, and I'm not putting laundry linens on the bed. So we wound up using that as a learning lesson in order to figure out a better way to do laundry. So there are a lot of systems. Channel managers will also do that. You can have other ones that create guidebooks for you. So you can have an automated guidebook populated through something like Hostfully. They have a beautiful guidebook. That's one that we're currently using right now. It's a great way, in a very simple way, to give them all the local information for restaurants, for things to do around in the area. But then you're also going to be using it to communicate like your house rules, like no smoking. You want to make sure you keep repeating no smoking all the time, as many times as you possibly can. Sorry, I know for the smokers in the house, it's a hard one to hear, but when you're operating it, it becomes a real challenge when you have the next guest who says, hey, I smell smoke. What's going on? I thought this was a no smoking place. And then all of a sudden they're upset because they paid for a no smoking place and somebody else smoking there. So how do you deal with that? So there are a lot of challenges that you wind up going through, but you have to have those plans in place. So really what it comes down to, hospitality, the way I look at it, is really about providing that extra service, going the extra mile, making sure the person is going to be happy that's coming in there, surprise and delighting them, and ultimately making sure that you're walking away with that 5-star review from them. That is by far the most important currency that you're going to be working with in short-term rentals, is getting those reviews. Now, Airbnb pushes that a lot further than VRBO, Booking.com. I don't think even Booking.com uses them, but Vrbo does, but it's not really as important. But those 5-star reviews actually will make a huge difference when you start getting into your SEO, which we'll get into in a little bit.
We're all here because we've all got a vision, right? Well, how do we do this? What sort of numbers are we talking? Is it better than long-term rentals in terms of money?
Yeah. So in terms of the money, this is the most important part that you're wanting to hear, right? Like, what is the investment that I'm making? How much can I make in return? So the difference that I look at with short-term rentals, yeah, and so Allison's going to write some numbers here up on the board and give you some ideas. But with the potential revenue that you're going to be making off of short-term rentals, you have the ability to provide people with a space in a right area, and you can make some amazing revenue. The short-term revenue that you're making is going to far exceed that long-term renter cash flow that you'll have. Every so often we'll hear another investor saying, hey, I'm making $200 a door. I'm making $100 a door. And that's great because you have somebody paying off a mortgage, you have that appreciation, you have $100 or $200 cash flow. But I'm sorry, I need that cash flow now. I can't wait for 20 years where somebody's paid off my mortgage, I've had enough appreciation, I want to sell it, now I have a huge tax bill at the end, but I've now sold and I can make millions. But I don't want to wait necessarily 20 years in order for that to happen. Daniel, you got a question?
Oh, sorry, yeah, for sure. So, so another question from Pazuk says, how feasible is for the cleaners to have spares and to actually do the laundry off-site?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So my phone really loves going on. Yeah, so with that, Kadru, it's very feasible. It's actually a system you can build in, whether it's you supplying them or using a laundry service. That's a more advanced question that we want to get into later. We can definitely talk about it. It's something that you can do. In the meantime, talking about the price of short-term rentals or the revenue that you can generate. So if you're getting, there's 3 different parts that we want to take a look at. Is what is the revenue of a listing that you can actually earn? So you can go onto Airbnb and you see, oh, this place is amazing. Look at that. It's $500 a night. If they were booked out for 30 nights, oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. What, $15,000, right? You can make $15,000. That's fantastic. I don't know, I'm doing the math in my head. I hope somebody not
I was
tells me
impressed.
right. However, you have a lot of expenses. You have to pay your cleaners. You might have some consumable items that you're going to be replacing. Maybe you have a deal where if you're doing arbitrage, you have to pay the utilities. Maybe all of those things, you have a number of things. So you have to take your revenue. Obviously, this is finance 101. Take the revenue you're going to earn, and then you're subtracting your expenses to figure out your profit. However, how much revenue can you make? You're not going to be booked out 100% of the time. I highly recommend not being booked out 100% of the time. And the reason why is that if you're booked out 100% of the time, that means you're leaving money on the table. The money, the amount that you're actually charging for that unit is going to be too low. We're going to go into some tools later so that this will help you, and we're going to do an actual walkthrough on how to do this. So with that revenue, let's assume that we're going to have 20 nights out of 30 you're going to actually be booked. So that's what we call an occupancy rate. That occupancy rate, it would be at 67%, right? 2/3. And then we also have our average daily rate. So let's say our average daily rate is $250. We have a 3-bedroom home in a nice town, and it's got some good amenities, so we're making $250 a night. So you take, your 67%, you multiply it by the 250. Somebody quickly do the math for me, because I'm not a mathematician. 5,000, there we go. So that's how much revenue you could potentially earn in that month. And it is a month-to-month basis that we're looking at. So then we have our expenses. So, let's say we have arbitrage, so we're renting out that house. Maybe it's $2,000 that we have to pay back. We have to pay back our cleaners. Let's say we had, I go by the number of cleans, so we might have had 5 cleans in that period of time. It takes our cleaners about $100 to do one cleaning, so let's average that out. That's $500. And for whatever reason, we didn't have any other expenses that month. That means I'm walking away with $2,500 at the end of that month. So you can already see that this is an amazing thing where if I'm walking away with $2,500 at the end of the month, how many properties do I need in order to hit whatever goal that I have? That goal might be, I want to make $10,000 a year. Quick math, how much? 4, right? That's all you need. 4 properties can bring you that kind of revenue. That's amazing. If you want to make $20,000, it's going to be 8. If you want to make more, it's going to be whatever you need. You want to make $25,000 a month, you only need 10 properties at that rate. Amazing stuff. And this is why I think short-term rentals is great for people who want to get in, especially if they're, for instance, you may not have a lot of capital right now. You may not be able to afford your own home, but you can create a management company, be able to operate it this way as a short-term rental host. It's a very active business, but it's one that's going to pay you for all that business as well. And just on a side note, because it is an active business, I'm going to let you know the CRA came out back in July. You do have to pay HST on everything that you earn. So there's tips and tricks that I have about that.
Wait a minute. Before 30,000?
So if you're charging $250 a night, Airbnb currently, so depending on the area, so here we're in the Waterloo region, they automatically take 4% for an accommodations tax, but they do not have an automated way for them to collect and remit HST on your behalf. So if you're only charging $250 a night, you're actually losing 13% to HST. Okay?
So what can you do?
So what can you do?
What can you do? Anyone have any suggestions on what you can do? Now you gotta pay the Lincoln government 13%. What can you do?
More properties is
Do
one.
that, Kyle?
13% on top. So there's a little trick. I don't know, does anybody here have a short-term rental at all? No? Okay. So what I would recommend, I learned this online. There's a little trick that I do at the beginning when you first list your Airbnb. I know you're, Matheson, you're gonna list yours soon. When you do your listing and they say, hey, congratulations, you have your listing ready to go, would you like to give the first 3 guests who are booking in a 20% discount? Absolutely I do. I want to give them a discount. Why? Because first I'm going to rank up higher on the SEO ranking inside of Airbnb. Number 2, because I'm going to increase my price by 25%. So I'm going to make an extra 5% on the first 3 people who are coming in, and then I can drop the price by 20% afterwards, or 25%, and make it a little more normalized. Again, you're at the very beginning. Airbnb doesn't know if you have a good listing or a bad listing, so you just increase that price and then you drop it afterwards. That way you're going to maintain a higher ranking on their page, and the whole goal is to get onto that very first page. If you have one property, getting to number 1 is the most important thing, because when somebody types in Waterloo, Ontario, or wherever it is, you want to go into Toronto and you're typing that in, you want to be number 1, because if you're number 1 and they haven't said how many guests or what the dates are, you can actually shine right there at the top of that SEO page. It's a very important thing, because the more you're at the top, the easier it is to kind of stay on that first page and to keep that flowing. Because when people say, when you guys are looking at, say, Amazon, and you search for something, what's the first thing that you're going to look at? The number 1 thing, you're going to click at the top. Same with Google searches. And the first 3 are the most important places that you're going to be. So getting up there is really important. In addition to that, what we also want to do is make sure that you're accounting for all those financial parts, the taxes, the expenses, what you're going to have at the end of the day, and make sure that you're going to be putting some money in reserve. You're going to have different reserves necessary. You're going to need one for furniture, because either you or the owner will have set up everything with the furniture inside. The way I look at it is that if you're doing arbitrage, or if you own it yourself, you're putting in all the furniture. You have to make sure it's durable, it's affordable, that you're not buying the most expensive bed set and bedroom set, living room set, the most expensive television. But you do want to be able to provide them, the guest, with something that they wouldn't normally get if they were just at home. You want to give them the biggest TV, the best Wi-Fi. You want to give them the bonuses that when they come into the space, they don't have any worries and they feel like, wow, they really care. This is cool. I got the biggest TV, and I got Netflix, and I got Amazon Prime, I got HBO. Oh, this is awesome. I have all this stuff. So when you're down here and we're talking about having, say, $2,500 a month revenue profit that you're actually drawing in, even if you're paying taxes, the expenses are really important here, because all of those are a write-off for your business. So if you're running as an active business, either as management or as arbitrage. Now, again, I'm going to say I'm not an accountant. Please don't take this as accounting advice. Please talk to your accountant. Yes, there's my disclaimer. But this is a way that will actually help out your business if you're looking at doing this at scale. So having those expenses are going to be a good way to offset just the amount of profits that you're having here. And you're providing a great experience for somebody. Like when I go someplace, I already use Amazon Prime, I'm Prime Video, I have my Netflix account. I love Disney Plus. When Disney Plus first came out, if you put on Disney Plus into your listing title, you would get more bookings. They actually said it was like an extra 13% bookings in the very first month when Disney Plus first came out, because you had it in your listing title. They were like, oh, I want that, I'll stay there. Cool, right? Especially if you're booking in a place like Florida or and going to Disneyland, it would be a nice little treat, right? And you're already going to Disneyland. It's gonna be more Disney.
Perfect, let's maybe get into how they can find these with our Blue Ocean moment.
Yep. Sure.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have you, for those of you in the room, and also online, you can just open a new tab. We're gonna have you go to AirDNA Let's write that up here for those of you in the room. This is a very squeaky pen, sorry. So just give you a second to log in.
It's airdna.co.
Oh, .co.
Oh, yeah.
.co.
Okay, so when you're there, you want to go to the Rentalizer tool, which is on the left-hand side. Down near the bottom, it says Rentalizer. So you want to click on that. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having you do an analysis on a property. So for those of you in the room, you have on your table pink slips of paper in the center of the table. So take a look through them, grab one that you want to be your property, and you're going to be using that for the rest of the day throughout. If you're online, there is a properties list. I believe it's on the right-hand side. I'm just waiting for confirmation from Michaela. It's on the right-hand side? Okay, perfect. So on your dashboard, on the right-hand side, you've got a properties list for those of you online. You've got Airdna, is that what you're looking for?
No, found it.
Oh, you got it?
The Rentalizer.
I can't find them either.
The mobile site's different.
On the mobile, yeah, that's right.
Please help.
No, you shouldn't have to log in.
Maybe.
I found it.
Uh,
On Airbnb,
just
put on the side here. It says that we're here in West.
That's what the plate coming up from the other
Yeah, they took down.
So it's under market minder?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
And then you can just put the city in there, so you've got your piece of paper. Okay, so if you're on your phone, it's Market Minder that you're gonna be looking for as opposed to Rentalizer.
Oh.
yeah, I thought you had the.
Is that you may need a free account to be able to get any information if it won't let you get any farther. Are you managing to get through? Oh, okay. I think it's just the one, if we've gone on it a lot, we need an account because
Right.
you know, there's only so many few.
Yeah, and my apologies to everyone online for that, because we've been doing it for so long and we've forgotten to to look at that. And how do we get into AirDNA? It's just, you know, in the back of your mind. So this is something where we can definitely get into the tool and show you. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you're in Market Minder, for those of you online, the section that you're looking for is Market Minder or Rentalizer. If you're on your laptop, it would be this one here, Rentalizer. And all you're doing is you're entering in an address that's on, and you're just gonna push search. He's trying to type it. It's funny. So Keith's just putting in an address, And then you hit search. Okay, and then when you get your address entered in, you're gonna enter in the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. One thing to keep in mind for the number of guests is you can put, I'm assuming you're gonna have double beds or queen beds or king beds in the bedroom, so you've got 2 in each bedroom, but recommendation, have a sofa bed or something in the living room or in the basement, and you can add extra guests in, which will help you earn more revenue. And then once you've got that entered in, you click on update.
I changed it for.
I know.
Okay, so when you've got that and you're looking at the property that you've selected that you're gonna be using for the rest of the day, what I would like for you to do is to take note. You can write it in your workbook or on a piece of paper if you're at home. Please don't write it on the tablecloth if you're here in the room. I want you to write down the annual revenue, the average daily rate, and the occupancy rate. Okay, we're just gonna write some of these on the whiteboard so we can do a comparison later, so. Anyone have any issues in the room?
And just to point out as well, this is just one of many tools. There's, since short-term rentals are becoming very popular over the past 10 years that Airbnb has been in operation, and vacation rentals have been around for a lifetime as well. This is just one tool for analysis. There's a number of other tools that you can use out there. This is just the one that we use. Now, the way it works, just to give you a little bit of an idea, is that it takes all of the information in your area that you're looking at, that particular address, and it gives you an average. So it's going to weigh out that average between the person who, say, is leaving away for a weekend, listed once, tried it out, didn't really work, and they made $0, versus people like us who are trying to do this professionally and making a significant amount more. So it takes an average rate. So when you have your ADR, or average daily rate, of 194 here on this, what we have brought up right now, and an occupancy rate of 49%, that means that's the average that you're getting across all the other platform, all the other properties that are also a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 12-guest property. And of course, because we're doing this professionally, we're going to be doing more, much higher than what the average is. Yeah, where's that? Fenwick.
So for those of you in the room, when you have your numbers, let me know. I want to write it up here. What'd you get, Kyle?
Vertical attribute is revenues for 1,889. ADR 20. And 50%.
Someone else have numbers?
Anyone else with numbers?
My numbers are all on the board, I have that address.
Oh, you have this address, yeah, there you go. Yeah. And by the way, this is actually one of my units that I have listed. This is the very first one I started with.
Nice.
And I make a lot more than $34,000 a year. This is why I'm saying the numbers that they're giving are very average.
Is that after the OCC again?
Occupancy.
Occupancy. OCC is occupancy.
The annual revenue is $38,939. And the ADR is $201. And the occupancy rate is 53%.
Okay, do we have, oh, Daniel's not here. I said, do we have any online people that have numbers? Do you wanna?
Yeah, if we have any online people who have numbers that they have something else, then you can drop them in the chat and we can start writing some of those up here as well. Michaela to the rescue.
I just have to say, while we're pausing here, that the behind the scenes people are phenomenal. Like, as a teacher having to do all of the prep myself, this has been the easiest thing ever, and I just want to call out Michaela and Stephen and Floor and Daniel and everyone in behind the scenes. I'm sure I've missed a few people as well, but absolutely amazing.
Oh, excellent. We have some numbers coming in. So if you can do us a favor and drop the revenue plus the ADR and the occupancy in the line, in one line, that would help. We're seeing, looks like 23,444. Oh, here we go. There's some numbers. Yeah, 23,444, $106 ADR and 61% occupancy. We have another one here, 40,014. 147, and then 75%. Do we have a 56,233? So that's another one. Shows some decent properties for you guys.
Yeah, no kidding, 56, 133.
233. $321 and 48%. Okay.
I think that's good.
Yeah, this is a great set of numbers. So once you're actually reviewing these properties and taking a look at what you have here, so already, like, this by far is already leading the charge here, right? We have $75,000 a year. Now, I believe, was this the one you were working on, Colin? Yeah, and what's the address on that one?
It's 2646 Green Street.
Yeah, so this is a countryside property that I picked out. It's actually where I grew up when I was a kid. I did not know these numbers in advance, so this is great that I'm kind of finding it out. Now, yeah, so this is 2646 Cream Street in Fenwick, Ontario. That should be near the bottom of the properties list for those of you online. So we have the revenue of 75,405. ADR is 370 with an occupancy of 56%. So you're barely even, that's what, 16 days of a month that you're actually, 16, 17 days that you're gonna be filled, occupied. I believe it's, what, a 3-bedroom home, 2 bath, sleeps 10. You can actually like finish the basement. I haven't been in that house in 20, 30 years, so I have no idea if the basement ever got finished. When I was there, it wasn't finished. But if it was, you could have an amazing games room. You could have a home theater room. You could have some wonderful additions in there in order to drive up the revenue and increase the value of the property at the same time if you're owning it.
You stay with the country, like a farm stay type of thing?
It's actually a farm stay as well.
Okay, so for those, it's not just in the city, it's not just by the ocean, which is my preference.
Yeah, you have a question?
Yes, so, because we were kind of comparing our numbers just now.
Yeah.
And you might answer this later on, so if you will, let me know.
Sure.
But when you guys are talking about the numbers just now, immediately I started thinking about how many beds, bathrooms, and how many people does it sleep. Does that matter? Does it not matter? Because ours are completely different and he's doing better than me.
Yeah, so, and that's a good question, so.
Sleep more, whatever.
Exactly, so I'll get into this. So the question is, when you have beds, baths, and the number of people that can sleep, does that matter? The question is, it depends. Or the answer, I'm sorry, is it depends. The whole idea is that It really is going to be dependent on what are the amenities, what's around it. If I'm going to be booking into, say, Orlando, Florida, or if I'm going to be booking in Yorkville, Toronto, I'm going to get some pretty high numbers there. Especially if there's certain restrictions that I have to work around. And so this is not something that we're really covering today, but Toronto has restrictions on what properties can actually have short-term rentals, where they can be done. Condo boards typically, or HOAs, homeowner association, can restrict short-term rentals entirely. So it just depends on what restrictions and how desirable that location is. And there's two ways you can do this. You can either play what I call the heads and beds game, where you're trying to get as many people in there as possible. So if I can sleep 12 people, that's great. Because I can charge for a 12-bedroom location and I could only have 2 people show up.
Right.
Then they're paying for 12. Right. So it's a little bit better that way. But if I'm playing a sort of a higher quality game, I want to add some concierge level services. I want to be able to give them a ride to and from the airport. I want to make sure that they have, say, massage therapy or massage available, like spa treatments available. Then there are going to be a different level of expectations. There's different ways you can price this as well, right? Like you don't have to even go with the average. If you wanted to, it's like, hey, I want to drive tons of people in here. I want to have my occupancy going from 53% on this one. I want to get it up to 99%. Well, great, I'm going to take this 201 average daily rate and I'm going to drop it to $100. The challenge is you get into a whole other level where you're now dealing with a lot more people who have that $100 who are going to be a little bit more nitpicky on what the amenities are. Oh, that, you only have Netflix and Prime Video and I really need my HBO. This place is a 4-star, man. I'm not staying here. This is terrible. You can get a lot of challenges that way, and it's not just on the TV side or whatever it is. There's a lot of different factors that come into play. Now, if this is a full house, and most of these are actually full properties, right? It's an entire place. With short-term rentals, you typically have 3 ways to book properties. Either the entire place, a private space, so it can be, I've seen one, I was looking at a cottage that actually had a guest house that was attached to the main house. So that is a private space. It's not the entire property. They only have one small part. And so you're told that in advance. And then the other way of doing it is just a shared room. So I have, say, a 4-bedroom house and I rent it out room by room. Maybe I'm house hacking and this is the way that I want to actually drive revenue. So I have other people paying off my mortgage, right? So I can actually live in one of the units and Airbnb the other 3, have them up on a whole bunch of platforms and get all that revenue coming in. So it's a way, and you can calculate that. Okay, I'll make 3/4 of this. So there's different ways, different factors that come into play. Again, it's a customer service mindset. Honestly, the one thing I've learned is that when you lower the price, you lower the quality of the people who are coming in. So in order to offset that, you raise the price, you'll have less occupancy in some cases, but you're also going to be able to drive up the revenue and on the other side. So you may have lower occupancy, but when you have a higher ADR, it actually becomes a benefit for you where it's a net even, net positive. And you have the other positive of dealing with people who aren't going to blink an eye when they see your average daily rate of $200, $300 a night, or $500. Or $1,000 a night, depending on where you are, right? There's a lot of different possibilities there. Dennis, you have a question?
What would you say right now for room rentals because of COVID? We used to rent out we had a basement that we rent out and then a bedroom that we rent out.
Mm-hmm.
But right now we're kind of like, should we still do room by room rentals or should we just try to rent out the whole place? Because of COVID, you don't want to put a new guest and another new guest together in the same area. Maybe you gotta do some vaccine checks or something.
So for people who are online at home, the question is how do you deal with the shared rooms, especially with COVID? So one of the things that Airbnb has taken a higher policy than the other platforms on is, are you actually doing a sanitization beyond cleaning? Are you actually sanitizing? Beyond that, they're still fine with the shared room situation, and there hasn't really been any laws. Like, again, you have to pay attention to what the laws are. The Ontario government does have some laws in place here, and then you have to look at every province, every state, every country separately. But there are no laws right now that will prevent a shared room stay, so you can totally do that. It's just, hey, you might have a common space and you have to take a look at the laws. Maybe you have to wear a mask. Maybe you have to supply hand sanitizer. I mean, right now, if you're running a short-term rental, you should actually have the mask and the hand sanitizer in those units so that people feel, okay, they actually are aware of this. They're making it accessible to me, and I can go out, I can sanitize when I come in or go out, I can wear the mask, and it's one of those customer service techniques that you can use to build that positive rapport with the customer without necessarily calling it out like, you must do this. Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. So yeah, with these, we want to really take a look at what the amenities are. So we have that description in there, what the things are that actually will help describe that property. This will come in important when we actually start looking at writing up our listing. So when you're taking a look at the numbers, you want to do that analysis in advance to figure out, does this even make sense? If I know that I can make $75,000, but this is say a $5 million property, I'm probably, if I'm trying to either purchase it or own it, or even if I'm doing it as a management, maybe the owner is saying, I'm not making enough money off of this in order to be able to make it worthwhile. So this is the first part, is how much are you going to be making potentially? You can say, hey, you know, I might charge not $370, I might charge $350 just because I like rounder numbers, and my occupancy might go up a little bit. How does that work out? So it's just a quick way that you can take a look at these numbers and figure out how can I actually improve on that. What I found, and again, AirDNA as a tool only provides you with average details, the average information. So you're typically going to find that your average daily rate is going to be a little bit higher, and then your occupancy rate will actually be higher as well. So, and then you can take a look at, there are some paid versions or paid information through AirDNA that you can get into if you really want to like crack down deep and dive deep onto the data. Then you can find out, well, what's the average occupancy rate in my area? Or I go through and I take a look at the top 10 locations. What's their occupancy? And you can find out, oh, all the top ones here are around 80, 90% occupancy. Great, I'm going to be targeting that. What do they do that I'm not doing, or what are they doing to get there? And then you can add that into your listing. It could be the description, it could be the photos, it could be just the location, it could be the amenities that they're providing. All of those things will all come into play on how you can actually drive up those numbers. Because this one, to me, if this is 75, I could probably get another 25 to 30% revenue off of that. And again, like these are not exact numbers, it's not an exact science, but this is just a quick and dirty way of taking a look at what you can achieve. Yeah.
So when we are doing our own evaluation to kind of evaluate where we want to invest, how much would you lower these numbers by to give you a more realistic expectation of ADR and OCC?
Well, that's a good point. So the question for people online, if they couldn't hear, is like, how much would you lower it to get a realistic expectation?
More realistic expectation. If this is a little high, then
no, I'm saying this is low, and I would actually increase them.
Increase it.
Yeah, I would increase it. So I probably don't. Normally, I don't play with the ADR too much. What I really play with is the occupancy, because if I'm at say 194, let's say $200, right? And this is at roughly 50%, and we're at 34,000. I know I can probably increase this to say 75%, just to be conservative. I do believe 80 to 90% is quite possible, depending on what all the more popular ones are actually doing at the time.
Yeah.
If you have the proof, then you know it's possible, right? And then all of a sudden, if I'm getting an extra 50% here, I'm gonna make an extra 50% here. So this 34 might actually be more like 45 to 50. Yeah. And that's how I started. My very first one that I have, so if anybody wants to check it out, 202 Bedford Road. It started out, the very first time I had it, it was $22,000 annual revenue. And I launched it 1 week prior to the lockdown in Ontario. And I made $30,000 that year. I'm like, wow, these numbers don't make sense. And part of that was that I actually had a deal. I gave a smoking hot deal to somebody who came from the Philippines, needed a place to live. They were waiting for their house to be built. So I gave them basically the house for almost break-even price because I didn't know what was going on. We had this COVID thing, lockdown, government started saying you can or cannot actually open a short-term rental. So I'm like, screw it, I'm just gonna give them 5 months. They're already in there, let's do it. So I gave them that deal and I had 30,000. This year, I'm already on target and I'm almost there for 50,000 off of that property. So, and that property doesn't cost me that much. The expenses that I have are around $1,500 a month. I'm making between $4,000 to $5,000 a month revenue. So I'm, say on average, around $2,500 a month in my pocket after all expenses and taxes. So these numbers aren't possible. I'm showing you like these are actual ones. Some of these are ones that either like I have a personal connection with. I've done the due diligence on almost all of them except for this one here. And all of them are generating cash flow or can generate cash flow. Now, as I mentioned, the other thing that you have to take a look for is whether or not you can even operate a short-term rental. That's a whole advanced thing. And take a look at the local regulations, the bylaws of the particular city. So for instance, I think Brantford's a great little quiet community. I would love to have a short-term rental down there. The problem is with Brantford, they have a bylaw that it must be an owner-occupied residence and you're only allowed to, I haven't looked at it recently, but I think you're only limited to a certain amount of days and it's a shared room. I can't do an entire place, I can't do a private space, it has to be owner-occupied. Now, I could be totally wrong, again, please check the bylaws, but
I didn't understand that.
well, Google doesn't need to understand this at all. So I'm gonna just throw that away. Yeah, so really when you're taking a look at these numbers, this is the very first evaluation that you're doing to figure out, is it even feasible? Will I make cash flow? Because again, you're gonna take this, your overall number that you'll have at the end, and subtract whatever the expenses are. If you're trying to figure out, hey, do I want to buy this place? Do I want to put in some renovations, make it really pretty, put in the furniture and do it myself? Does that make sense? If I'm looking at arbitrage, that I'm looking at apartments, I want to rent out a house, I got a landlord who's ready, and I can make, I'm gonna have $4,000 revenue. He's like, dude, I need $6,000 because my mortgage is so high. Then it's not gonna make sense. You have to look at all those factors, the financial factors. So does this make sense at the end of the day to run this as a short-term rental? But as you see, the one that we had online there, the Bedford Road, market rent for that one would probably be between $2,250 to $2,500 a month. If I can make $3,000 a month and subtract the taxes, subtract the cleaners, subtract the consumables, insurance, all those other expenses. Sorry? Yeah, mortgage, utilities, all those big things. Since I own that one, does it actually make sense that I'm going to make revenue off of that? Right? So if I was only making $3,000 a month and I can get $2,500, yeah, okay, I'm doing $500 better. But if my expenses are $2,000, I might actually be out of pocket. So again, this is part of the evaluation, the due diligence, looking at those numbers. Do these things make sense?
I'm just gonna jump in. Well, I can, because otherwise he's gonna just talk about everything and I won't have anything to talk about. So what I was gonna say in amongst this was, yes, these numbers are low. In what we're seeing in terms of the amount of revenue that you can bring in. It's just amazing to me to see that the money that you can get through short-term rentals, we're finding on average is between 2 and 3 times market rent, which is like, wow, why would it? But on top of that, there's so many other benefits, so many more benefits. If you're in Ontario, you've got the lovely landlord-tenant board where the tenants are in control of everything. So you don't have to worry about that because these guys are short-term. If they stay past when they should, you call the police. They're trespassing, they're out. So that's the nice part. Also, your home is in 5-star condition. You can go in there whenever you want. If you're a landlord with long-term tenants, you can't just go in there whenever you feel like it, right? You've got to, make an appointment. You've got to have a reason to be able to go in there. So that's another benefit for it. Now, if you've decided you want to do this and you want to start then looking at, well, where can I do it? We've got a whole market that you need to be able to take a look at. I believe we're going to get into that a little later, aren't we? The market analysis? Or I can't remember now our timeline. But anyway, I'm just going to quickly touch on it. If you go into Airbnb, Keith's just mentioned restrictions, but if you actually go into Airbnb and take a look at, say, a city that you might want to look at, just type in the city. If there's lots of people who are Airbnb-ing there, it's probably pretty good. Confirm it by doing a search for restrictions and regulations in that town, just to be sure. But you can also take a look at the price points of all of those places. If everywhere is like $75 a night type of thing, when you look at the map, might not be where you want to go, okay? Depends. I don't know, maybe if you have an RV, you might. If you want to get $75 a night for an RV in your backyard, maybe that's where you want to go. But you do want to be able to take that into consideration as well. Using AirDNA, just to warn you ahead of time, they limit you as to how many you can actually use on the free account. Okay, so we managed, when we were using it in a free account, we're just gonna check this one out. Then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, no, sorry. And they wouldn't let us go any farther without upgrading. But there's a hack. If you go into an incognito window, they can't track you and you can keep using the free one. So anyway, there you go. I just thought I'd throw that out there for you. But in Canada in particular, AirDNA only will put properties on if there happen to be 40 or more in a particular area. So in cottage country, there may not be enough listings there and it'll just say that there's not enough data. Okay, it doesn't mean that there's no Airbnbs there. You'll have to go onto Airbnb itself and take a look at them. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on that. And we are actually going to get into the pricing strategy that's in your tactical handbook. I'm going to go back to Mr. Wisdom here to bring you some more gems and to learn how to actually learn how to price your particular property. I do believe there's 1 or 2 questions. Is there any questions here in the house? I don't want this to be one way. Let's make it interactive. Are there any questions here in the house so far? Kyle.
Do condos do well?
Condos do well, provided you are allowed.
I have a friend who encountered that.
Yes. Well, I think we all kind of maybe know someone who encountered that. I think you all know Ben Murison, right? For those of you in CashFlow tribe, when we were in Texas, we went, he was staying at a condo, absolutely spectacularly gorgeous condo that he and his wife Dre were staying in. So we go to visit and he's like, I don't know why I can't get in. I don't understand why I can't get in. Like the parking garage, the door wouldn't open. Anyway, they call and find out that the person who has rented it to him didn't check things out and they were not allowed to Airbnb. So they just went, yeah, sorry, you have to leave. You can't stay here. So as a guest, you were then impacted. So clearly he's not going to give that particular person a 5-star review. So if you're doing condos, yes, they can do well, but you must clear it with your condo rules and condo association first. Any other questions in here? How about online?
online, there was one question from,
I
there
know
was a,
Daniel was gonna ask.
yeah, actually, Daniel, you go ahead, because you probably scrolled back and saw a few more
See
questions.
how
than I
we did
did.
that? You took the mic from me right away, like, see what I mean? This is the way it works.
Yeah, so Olga has a question. So Olga said, how are your Ontario rental arbitrage properties insured?
So I can say I don't have any arbitrage properties at this time in order to say how they're insured. What I can say is that I have an owner-occupied residence and I also have management properties. Those are actually insured. Honestly, I can just send you the name of our insurance broker and he'll help you out. There are a number of different insurance options. They're very complex. I am not an insurance broker at all. I don't know this stuff. So I just look for a few different things. One of the important things to figure out though with your insurance is because you're actually doing this as an income generating asset, whether you own it or you're using somebody else's asset, your insurance should have that loss of income ability that if you lose income, that you can actually get compensated for that. Because all of a sudden you have a guest who comes in there, they're cooking up, they're having a great time, they cause a fire, and the kitchen needs like $40,000 in renovations. Well, that's gonna take a little bit of time. That means you're gonna be down, you have to actually cancel the next guest until all the work is done. All of a sudden you're out that revenue. And if you didn't have the right insurance, that can create problems. The other thing about insurance is that Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com each have a $1 million booking or insurance policy. Airbnb calls it their host guarantee. They guarantee, and like a lot of other insurances, they guarantee to not pay you out at all, or you'll have to fight tooth and nail. So the way I look at it is that those are great opportunities to use for the deductible and then goes for your actual insurance for the actual claim. So there's different ways of doing it, but again, I'm not that big on insurance. Fortunately, I haven't had any insurance claims, but it's the risk mitigation for the future.
Awesome. I'll take one more question. This is from Mohammed. It says, essentially, what's the safe percentage in terms of income to expenses when it comes to evaluating these properties? So I think maybe Mohammed, if you want to elaborate more on the chat, I think you're really saying it's from revenue to expenses. Is there a percentage that you aim for to say generally speaking is pretty good?
I haven't actually done that calculation so Mohammed, this is your question about revenue to expenses. I haven't done that calculation to figure out what makes sense there, but really each one is going to be different. Obviously you have to account for all those expenses. We're going to go through here rather than our next part that we're doing is breaking it right down and looking at all the expenses of what you may cover and looking at those. So with that, actually, I think that's a good segue to get right into that. So thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, take it away.
All right. So if you open up in your tactical notebook, workbook, page 4, 5, and I think 6. Okay, so those 3 pages, basically we're going to take a look at the difference between 3 strategies of running an Airbnb. And these numbers are in here, you can go through them, and we have it so that you can actually do these analysis into the future on your own if you want through them. So if you're actually to be the first one is arbitrage. So when you're doing arbitrage, again, that means you're going to be renting out this property. You need your first and last month's rent. You need your furniture costs. So all of those upfront costs that are going into it. We're not accounting for that. These are the monthly costs afterwards that we're taking a look at. So what we have here is we have rent, we have utilities. We're assuming that we've negotiated a deal where the utilities are included in, but if they're not, you might want to add those in. We have insurance because, well, it's a property, and we need at least liability insurance. If somebody falls and trips and breaks a leg, we're on the hook for that, so we really want to make sure we're covered. Plus, we also, if we're doing arbitrage, it's our own furniture. We want to make sure that that gets covered as well. And like I said, loss of income is also a good thing to cover. And these are just spitball numbers. They're not accurate by any means, but just to give you an idea. We also have our consumables. How much materials are you going through from toilet paper, paper towels, laundry soap, shampoo, conditioner, body soap, all those things that you're using on a regular basis. How much are you actually using of that? I've created this one for myself, a furniture replacement fund. You're having people coming into your space, they're gonna be using your sofa, they're gonna be using your beds. There's probably gonna be the primary ones, your master bedroom and your living room, which are gonna go through the most wear and tear in terms of furniture. So you wanna be able to start planning for the future. It's only gonna last maybe 2-3 years tops. Maybe only 12 months, 18 months, just depends on the number of people that you get in and how well they're using your furniture. They're gonna be as rough on that as they are at home, and it's not their place, so, jumping on the bed is totally acceptable, right? So making sure, and I do that as a percentage. So I usually do that as like 2% of my gross revenue that I would have coming in. We have our software costs. So if you have any software costs, if you're using any channel managers, messaging, Price Labs, which is a dynamic pricing tool, we'll talk about that later. Any of those software costs that are coming in. We have our taxes, our licenses, HST, whatever the remittance taxes that are required for those different, whatever country, state, province that you're in, you have to account for those. And this is all based, as you see at the very top, we already have, this is across all three. So we have a simple place, it's a 2-bed, 1-bath, sleep 6 in Waterloo. We're gonna assume we got a good deal on the rent, because I know a 2-bedroom doesn't really go for $1,800 rent, but let's just assume that. We're getting $136 ADR. We have a 75% occupancy, and in a month, that's just over $3,000 revenue. We take a look at this, we have all these expenses, we're removing those, and we have a $507 remaining profit at the end of the month. That's actually pretty good, but I think we could do a lot better.
I like your attitude.
All right, so the next one is an owner-operated. If you're owning it and then operating your own place, we have our mortgage to consider. Our utilities, our insurance, our property taxes added onto it. The consumables, the furniture that we've outfitted it with, the software that we're using, the taxes, the license, the HST. So in some places, for instance, you may require to get a rental operator license in your community if you're renting anything, whether it's a short-term rental or a long-term rental. So we go, again, we're taking a look at this. We have all of those expenses that are coming through. We take a look, we're making $7 a month. That's not great. On a slow month, say in January where it's cold, people are less likely to travel, unless if you have a ski resort, then you might actually get really great numbers. In this case, you might actually be below that. This is just taking an average into account. But the idea is that you are winning over the fact that since you do own that property, you do have mortgage pay down, you do have appreciation, so you are getting maybe only $7 cash flow. Again, very low numbers for a property like this. But it does show that you have to take into account all these different factors. And then management. If you're doing management, this is the final one. We have our insurance, we have our software costs, we have our taxes and licenses that are going in here. And it shows you the profit. This is with, if you're charging a commission, a 30% commission, you're actually making much better on this. The one thing that we did not include on this is cleaning. How much do you need for cleaning? And that is one of those variable questions, because you need cleaning every time somebody leaves a property and you have a turnover. What they call in the hotel business, a turnover. And with that turnover, they're going to go in, they have to take off the sheets, they have to make sure all the dishes are washed, they have to replace the sheets and make the beds. They're going to be making sure everything is clean. What in the cleaning industry they call it a deep clean. You can do a lighter clean. Maybe you only need to sweep out all the dust and dirt that's in there. If you have vinyl plank flooring, it's a great little hack to make it really simple. But if they spill something, you're going to need the extra time to clean it up. Maybe they'll eat in the bed, even though you might have a house rule that says don't eat in the bedroom. These are different things. But when it comes down to it, that cleaner is going to be the variable cost. And if you have a good system, You know that your place, you start tracking the information, maybe you have 5 cleans every month, maybe you have 10 cleans a month. And when you're using things on Airbnb, you set a cleaning price, and most of the platforms you do that. And when you set that cleaning price, one of the ways that some people will do it is a flow through. Okay, I get, say, $100 from the guest, I'm gonna give that to the cleaner. It doesn't even come into play there, right? It comes in, it goes out. It is both the revenue and the expense that matches. But let's say you have a place that you're charging $150. It's a 3-bedroom, maybe a 4-bedroom home, and you're charging $150 cleaning fee. It's really high, but people are expecting that because they're getting a much bigger space. You get a really good team in there and they start doing a great job. You get them very efficient. You actually hire a laundry service to take all those linens out, all the bath towels out, all the kitchen towels out, and do it off site, and they just drop it off and you get that done for you. Then all of a sudden, maybe that cleaning fee is only gonna be, with the laundry service, might only be $100, $125. All of a sudden, you now made a $25 profit off of each one of those cleans. And if you're doing all the stuff yourself, cleaning, laundry, everything else, then you actually get to charge that cleaning fee, and then that's your time that gets paid for. So how much is your time worth? If it's gonna take you, say, 3 hours to clean a property, well, you might wanna make $75. That's great. So in between that little segment, sometimes you get a little segment where it's that period of time where you have a guest checking out and the next one checking in the same day, then you have to go in that limited time period. I usually do my checkouts at 11 a.m. and I check in at 4 p.m. Gives me 5 hours to get in there, get the cleaners in, get everything done, and then get it ready for the next guest. If I know that I'm gonna have a large group that was already in there, maybe I might need an extra hour, maybe I might even need an extra day if I know that there was a party going on, which you shouldn't have one anyway, but we'll get into that. So, yeah.
Did you get through?
Yeah, we walked through that.
Okay, what I would like for you to do, for those of you that are in the room, well done, you get some snacks. So there's some snacks coming around for you too. But what I would like for you to do is, for your property, to take your information from your property and run through the remaining different calculations in your workbook. Okay, so online, the property you were dealing with, grab that one, enter it in, go through the, fill in the blanks, and take a look at the profit that you get from each of them and see if it's worthwhile for your property. Also, we're gonna jump into Q&A.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
So,
I just wasn't sure where we were with that, so we're gonna jump into Q&A. I'm getting thumbs up at the back, so we're on the right track, guys. Do we have anything online?
yeah, so we do got one question. This is coming from Robert. It says, if you are looking to use a triplex completely for short-term rentals, how do you get the criteria from AirDNA? Do you have to go through the process of Rentalizing for each unit, or is there a different way of going about it?
Yeah, 100%. Each of them are separate listings. So you will do your AirDNA for each of those listings. Keep in mind that the basement units, unless it's a walkout, I would, for me anyway, what I would do is use the actual Rentalizer numbers. I wouldn't increase them myself. I would keep it just at that and think, okay, that's where I'm gonna be in a good scenario, because the basement units, you know, they're basement units, right? So they're potentially a little bit colder. If you happen to have someone renting on the main floor that's got kids, you've got the noise transfer. The other thing, and I know we're gonna be talking about the actual listing write-up later, but that might be something that's either in the listing or in the communication that you have with the guest before they book. So they are aware that it is a basement unit, that there can be people above you. Okay?
Awesome. All right, so I'll definitely keep an eye on the questions from online, but in the
Awesome.
meantime, any questions from the room here?
They're all busy working.
I guess your cleaning costs would include this landscape,
No, the landscaping, snow removal, that's your property maintenance. So if you're co-hosting or arbitrage, that's gonna be your landlord's responsibility, not yours. So that's a bonus. Because of course, you just say to them, hey, listen, this is your property, we're gonna be doing the co-hosting, but you need to be able to maintain that property. If you're owner operator, yes, 100%, you need to include that expense as well. However, I would also make sure, we've experienced it with ours, make sure that you're aware of the outside. That's the first impression for the guests when they walk up to the property. So if you're kind of like, yeah, well, I've hired someone else to clean it or whatever, and you don't go and check on it, particularly, hey, hello, it's fall, the leaves are falling, make sure that path is brushed off and swept off, that the deck doesn't have muddy footprints all over it, because all of that is setting the tone when your guest first walks up onto the property. Okay, so it's really easy to think the inside looks beautiful, it's spectacular, I've got all the best things in the automation and Disney and all this, that, and the other, but you forget about the snow removal, or so do make sure that you include that as well. Anything you want to add? Yeah, silly if I knew anything otherwise.
So going back to the question, sorry, I had something that came in my mind. So yeah, it's definitely that outside really makes a difference. So we're not including any of those extra calculations in here, but that's an excellent one to consider for this, because you really want to make sure that you have that 5-star property from the outside before you even get in. And and exactly as Allison said. And I know one of the other issues that we have are walnuts. We have a walnut tree in the backyard of that property, and they're like I had a guest, he's like, oh my gosh, who has guns? I'm like, guns, what are you talking about? And then he was outside and he's like, yeah, I almost got hit by one of your apples. Oh, you mean walnuts? They're basically this big, they drop out of the top of the tree, which is about 50 feet up, and when they hit the top of our shed that we have in the backyard, bang, every single time. And he's like, oh my gosh, I thought somebody had a gun. No, it's just a wall.
And if your walnut's anywhere near a driveway, you may want to warn them to park on the street.
Yeah, so it's really something to consider. Like, you have to think as the guest the entire time. What is the experience that I'm going into? What is the guest experiencing? And what are the possible negative things that can happen? And how do I mitigate those? So for us, a walnut tree, I think the only way to deal with it is to get somebody who loves walnut wood, a woodworker, and get them to cut down the tree to take it away.
They're really, really valuable trees. I know that we had one on a property that I owned a few years ago, and they had beautiful big walnuts, like huge walnuts on them. And they had grown straight up, because it doesn't really matter. A lot of details there, you don't need to know that. But they're beautiful walnuts, beautiful straight trees. We had carpenters and what have you coming in saying, that's a $30,000 tree. And I'm like, hell yeah, chop it down. I'm all right with that money, I can use that elsewhere, right? But it's really valuable when it's dried and kiln dried and that sort of thing. Trying to find a mill that wants to cut it down to be able to do all that, it didn't happen. So anyway, I really segued there just because this food is out and it looks really kind of good. So now, Michaela and Daniel, are we taking a few minute break for lunch so everyone online can go to the washer? I just want to say Dina, you look amazing. Sorry, I should be going this way. Dina, you look amazing. I love that backdrop of your face there. I'm like, there's 2 Dinas. It's just the coolest thing ever.
Double Dina.
And it's good to see Kadrut and Olga, and who else is there? I don't have my glasses on.
Well,
There's Deanna, and sorry, I can't see who that is. Is that Anthony up there? Andrew, Anthony? No? I don't know. Anyway, really thankful for those of you that do have your cameras on. Now everyone's popping in. Hey, Drew. It's good to see everybody. I'm really glad. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go have a quick washroom break. Seatbelt yourself in. At 3:20, we're going to get started again.
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna take your job.
all good. So give me a thumbs up on Zoom. Give me a reaction. Give me something in the comments. Let me know that y'all are still tuned in. Y'all are here, not on the YouTube universe, but in the STR universe. That's what I'm talking about right there. And so definitely go ahead, use the bathroom, grab a bite. Definitely look over the stuff that has been discussed. grab your questions. That way, as we kind of move into the next session, you're ready to go, you're ready, and you're prepared. We will be resuming at 3:30, all right? So you get a little more time, 3:30, so definitely get yourself refreshed, maybe stretch your legs, do what you gotta do, and you'll be right back here at 3:30, all right? We'll see you on the other side. All right, we are back. Okay, we are back. Second session is now about to begin. Hope we're doing super well. All right, so how are we doing so far? Where's the temperature in the room? Give me some thumbs up, thumbs sideways, down. Where we at? All right, I see thumbs up all around. Online, how are we doing? I need to see how you're doing. Turn on your cameras if you're back with us, because I need you to be engaged. All right, this is the time where I need you to lock in, be involved. I see a couple people turning on the cameras, but I need more. I'm talking to you. Y'all who are on Zoom right now. I'm looking right at you through the lens. I need you to turn on your camera, all right? I need you to turn on your camera. Let's stay engaged. You're literally in the room with us, just so we're clear. So I need y'all. I see Daryl, Erica, Caroline. Thank you very much. I see y'all right here. I love it, but I need some more. There's Deanna. There's that lovely face. Right, just in town. I love it. So let's continue to stay engaged, all right? I do have an update as far as the leaderboard is concerned, and so just want to check it out real quick. If you want to just go to the leaderboard, want to see who's in the lead. Let's see who's winning. Let's see who's winning here. Oh, okay, go ahead. So I know that Dina was in the lead earlier. I just want to see if she's still on top. If she's still the queen of the game, you can bring it over if it's locked. I can unlock it. I don't remember the password, my fingerprint. All right, so let's see who's in the lead here. Okay, so we got Daryl Allen in the lead. I might have been a little too loud, sorry. We got Daryl Allen. Say this one more time. We have Daryl Allen in the lead and with 984, and we got Dina in second with 944. Everybody else is in 500 or below. So Daryl, Dina, you're in a foot race right now, but it's not too late. All you have to do is just click on those buttons you see on the dashboard. If you haven't checked out all the resources yet, check out those resources. If you haven't checked out the information on our speakers today and just get a background of who they are and what they do, definitely check that out. If you've looked at some of the PDFs, good job, but definitely make sure you exhaust every area. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. If you haven't created a free CashFlow Tribe account, definitely do so. Keep in mind, some of the points have higher weighted values than others, so be sure to exhaust everything on the screen so you can put yourself in a position to win the top prize. Now, I'm not too sure. How many of us actually know what the top prize is? How many of us know? If you don't know yet, the top prize is going to be $200 going towards your first Airbnb. I don't know about y'all, I'm excited about that because maybe y'all need a piece of furniture. Maybe you need a software that needs to get you up and going. Whatever the case may be, it's gonna help you get one step ahead that much further so that you can go ahead and take action on your Airbnb. So, just for clicking buttons, I can get $200. As far as I'm concerned, that's a pretty good ROI, all right? I'm not too sure about your dexterity, but my finger's working pretty good. So definitely click on those buttons and definitely get going on there. So without further ado, definitely, once again, turn on the cams. I see Code Drew. I see Dina. I love, first of all, shout out to Dina. Look at his background real quick. She's in person and got herself as the background. I love it. That's awesome. We got a few more people on. So definitely stay engaged. Get those questions in the comments. We'll get to all of them. But now, enough of me. Let's get back to Blue Ocean Property Group. Y'all ready for it? Oh, I didn't hear nobody. Are we done? Maybe, I don't hear y'all. Are y'all ready for Blue Ocean Property Group? Woo! All right. Keith, Allison, you ready to roll? Let's go.
Yeah, we are ready. Let's bring it.
Okay, so we were talking previously about all the pricing, all that, how to deal with your revenue, your expenses, all that cool stuff, right? Actually, I find it really boring. All I wanted to see is that the number at the bottom is bigger than all the expenses. That's it. So the most important thing that you're going to be doing afterwards. So before we one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit is before we actually get into what your Airbnb listing is, I want to give you all the tools around it. And then we're going to go diving deep after this in talking about your listing, writing it up, how titles make a big difference, all of those important features. Yeah, oh, that's a good idea. So if we go back to our workbook and the, whatchamacallit here, the pricing strategy, does anybody have any questions on that first before we continue on to the next section?
Are there any surprises? Wow, I'm glad I did
And
that.
anybody online, did anybody have questions? I want to see this here. Oh, and of course, Olga has to run. She has an Airbnb emergency. So I totally get that. I had to turn my phone off. I don't want to deal with any emergencies today. I figure if the house is on fire, I got a fire department. They're good. All right. All right. Any questions? Anybody? Anybody? No? If there are, we'll get to them. Don't worry. We'll save them for later now. So in the meantime,
I will say
yeah.
that even in the example, what I thought was really interesting was that the management, even though you're only getting 30% commission, that you're making more profit in that strategy than you are if you're owning it. And again, this is without cleaners, okay? Without cleaners, in this particular example, you would have been in the hole. So, kind of cool in that sense.
all right, so now we're going to get into something a little interesting here. Just having some trouble learning how to scroll. So this is a tool that we use called Price Labs. This is actually a listing that I have right now and where my prices are currently at on one of my listings. This looks like a very complicated set of schemes at the moment here. So the whole point of Price Labs is that we're using a dynamic pricing tool. When you think of it, what is actually causing your average daily revenue to fluctuate? It's not going to be a standard thing. Has anybody here ever stayed at a hotel? Right? A hotel, when you book it last minute, you might be able to get a deal. Or if it's like in a slow season, hey, it's on sale, it's like 20% off. Well, the whole point of that is that they're trying to fill heads and beds. They have all these rooms, they need to generate some revenue, they need to get people in there, but because of that lower occupancy, they'll take the lower ADR to get the occupancy up. Now you can see from before how your occupancy and your average daily rate actually will impact each other, right? If you have a really high ADR, you may get lower occupancy and vice versa. But we're taking a look at this, so you can take a look. The website is pricelabs.co. You can take a look at that. There are a number of dynamic pricing options out there for tools. And the whole point of this tool is that it does all the thinking for you, which is great, especially if you want to scale up and have a few properties. I can set, I've seen it many times on Airbnb where somebody sets a price, it's $100 a night. Okay, what's it like on Christmas Day? $100 a night. What's it like on January 22nd? $100 a night. What's it like on July 4th? $100 a night. Well, when you're listing just one flat rate, you're losing out on a lot of opportunities. What happens, I'll ask around the room and online as well if anybody has any thoughts. What do you think actually affects your average daily rate? Demand caused by Christmas. Perfect. That's a good one. Somebody raise a hand back.
Santa Claus have to do with it?
What is Santa Claus? Well, he comes down and he gives you the Airbnb boosts. That's great on your occupancy. Anybody else have an idea of what causes a fluctuation?
Seasons, like summer or winter.
Yeah, summer and winter, so seasonality is one.
I was gonna say day of the week.
Day of the week, it really does. Actually, and if you take a look, we actually have some day of the weeks down here, pricing adjustments that we play around with. So it's going to be caused by events that are going on in your local community, how busy everyone else is. If all of a sudden these websites, Price Labs, Wheelhouse, Beyond Pricing, what they do is they actually aggregate all the data from Airbnb itself. They have an API that they can actually use for this. And then what they do is they pull from that data and they say, hey, there's a big spike going on. For instance, I know of a guy, I listened to this podcast. What had happened is he had a place, it was like a 2-bedroom apartment, normally for about $125, $150 a night. And he let, Price Labs or whatever tool he was using take over for him. All of a sudden he got a booking for $800 2 nights, so he made $1,600. He's like, what's going on? He had no clue what was going on. In his city, Cher rolled into town, and as a huge celebrity, all of a sudden, it's packed. Everything is booked. You can't find anything for days. So it automatically took over for him and increased all the prices. So it's a great way to really have that benefit of having the dynamic pricing, that you don't have to think about it. So seasonality, days of the week, how busy everybody else is, what the average occupancy in your area is, all of those things are going to be considered. You don't have to do any of that thinking. So they're like, here's a customization tool. You can see over here, these are the prices. I'm actually booked out till the 20th. I'm actually just sharing all my live data, so this is like wonderful for you to see. And you can see here, it's actually dropped prices midweek, and it says there's higher occupancy. It gives you a legend down here between demand, so it's saying the weekends are high demand. And I'll tell you, weekends really are a high demand. If you have a place, and let's say it's 2-3 bedroom property, then all of a sudden it might become a party property. If you have it available only for one night rentals, that Saturday night might be the best party night somebody comes in. So one of the advanced things that I think about is that, okay, if I'm in Kitchener and I have somebody coming in from Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, local, I don't want them in, because that person probably means that they want to have a party at my place and they don't want to clean it up. They're going to let me do that. Well, I'm sorry, I don't want that. I've seen parties and just the trash and the garbage and everything else. I don't want to have to pay for that. I'm going to make them pay for it. Or I do certain strategies to not have that problem in the first place. So going through this, I'll go top to bottom and what can possibly be done. This is actually, this is always in fluctuation for me, because I like to tweak it and figure out if these things are actually working, how I can get a few dollars, how I can protect myself against large groups, whatever it is. Yeah. Oh, and it's in the workbook too for anybody if they need. You can take a look alongside it. Yes, sir.
How real time is Price Labs based on the data? Does it recognize on the real time reservations within, I guess, the area where if it starts to see an influx of reservations, then it automatically increases or incrementally increases your pricing accordingly to it?
Yeah, so I think the way, from what I recall, now again, this is only what I've heard, don't quote me on it, you can actually get in contact with Price Labs. I've had to call them in the past about something, and they're pretty nice people, but I believe their data is within an hour or two. So they're aggregating in real time based on all the occupancy of confirmed bookings that are going on Airbnb, and then they're grabbing that data, putting it in here. And when I sync my prices, so you have this save and refresh or sync now. When I go and upload my prices, it's within an hour. They actually, if I sync now, it's usually within 5 to 10 minutes that my prices will be modified live.
So your pricing could have started at, let's say, 131, and then it's every hour on the hour, and it starts to see, there might be an event that you didn't know about.
Exactly.
That are coming in, and then these people, and then inventory starts to shrink, and then it starts to, it optimizes. It
optimizes the price so that as inventory shrinks, as demand increases, the price will automatically increase that.
So that 131 could be like at 289 or 302 or something, as it's your, like, let's say the last 3 or 4 units that's available.
Absolutely. Mind blown. It's total genius that I don't have to think. The best part is, when do people book their Airbnb? Who here has booked an Airbnb? And at what time of day have you actually booked it? Did you do it at 9 o'clock in the morning when you're bright and fresh and early and ready for the day? Or it's like, my day's over, I'm thinking I'm gonna go to this place, I'll book an Airbnb. Oh, what time is it? It's 10 o'clock, I'll do it before I go to bed. Done. That's when I'm seeing all my bookings. But unfortunately, as Allison knows, I'm a little bit of an old man. I like to go to bed at like 10:30.
He's gonna be sleeping all day tomorrow.
So anyway, the problem for me is that I might be asleep or I might be out and I don't notice these things, that the demand is increasing. Maybe there was something in the paper like 5 months ago that I read. Sorry, I called myself an old man right there. I read the paper.
Read the paper.
Yeah. Even if it's online, I still read it. But the whole idea is that there may be something in it I may not have clued in. But I know locally there's a few things here in the Kitchener-Waterloo region I can count on. The Jazz Festival, Oktoberfest. These are little things here and there. There's a bunch of other ones in my neighborhood that, yeah, I can increase price a little bit at certain times of the year. That's great, but I don't know everything that's going on. This handles it for me. Kyle, go ahead.
So it is synced with your Airbnb and it automatically rates the prices?
Yeah, it automatically handles it all in the background. However, if I want to go in and modify and change anything and adjust things, I can actually synchronize it immediately.
This syncs to every platform.
Yes. And so if you have a channel manager, so let's say we're using Hostfully as a channel manager, then it will actually drive that price from here to all the channels that I have. And now I just...
About your property.
Oh.
On your properties.
Sorry, what was that, Kyle?
On your property, like all the properties will.
Every single property will be handled differently. So you list all of your properties, you list all your prices. Now, we'll go into some of the details here. So the first thing you're gonna do right up here, actually, let me just scroll a little bit up. So there you go, you see the minimum price here. I'm just trying to keep everything on one page. We have our minimum price. I set this at $100 right now, just because of the season, and I've actually made my money for this time of year, and I don't really worry. Normally, it's actually double this, but I set my base price at $213. This means I will normally be listed for $213, but it will never go below $100. So maybe there's no demand. Right now, I'd rather have it empty and vacant rather than somebody trying to get in for $100. Or for less than $100. And then in my customizations, we can do last minute pricing, similar to what I was saying about hotels, where they want to drop the price. They see that the next 7 days, there's a little bit of a gap. Like right now, I have a gap here. The rest of November is actually empty. I know it'll probably fill, because I was booked to here only 3 days ago, and then I got 2 bookings in. So here I have and there are people who can book very far out in the future. It depends on a whole bunch of other factors, but you can potentially have like a calendar full for the next 3 months. Last minute pricing, as I was saying, I dropped the price. It's a 20% discount within the next 7 days if I don't have an occupancy, and it gradually lowers it. It's not 20% right up front. It's like, maybe it starts at 5, then 10, then 50, and drops it lower and lower. Then I have what's called orphan day pricing. So you get orphan days, or what are also called gap days. In your calendar, what will happen is that you'll have a booking. Let's say I have a booking here for 4 days, and then I have somebody who stays till Wednesday, they check out, and then I have somebody who's coming in on Saturday for the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Well, all of a sudden that means nobody's in Wednesday night or Thursday night. I have a gap day. So this is where I can actually give a discount for somebody to come in and stay on my gap day, so I can get higher occupancy for that. You have all these marketing tools, let it think for you, it's great. And then we have our minimum stay. So the minimum stay means there's certain days I want to make sure people are there for. I did a whole bunch of one-night stays, and when I first launched it, I had no idea what I was doing, and you learn by mistakes. One of the mistakes I had was Saturdays were a one-night stay. So I wanted people to come in on Saturday, stay for one night, have a party, and leave. Well, the problem with that is that I have a big mess to clean up. The cleaners were not happy. They had more work to do. I was out more revenue out of that and lowered my profit. So one of the things that I do is I now have for weekends a 3-night minimum. Whether or not you do this, it's up to you. This is just stuff that I do. And then during the weekday, I actually have a 2-night minimum. So that means if you come in on a Monday, you have to stay till at least Wednesday. What I find is by having these rules, I'm getting more 1-week stays, 2-week stays, even midterm stays. So the way I look at it is a short term is a month or 30 days and less, and midterm is 30 days and more. So with this property here, I'm actually getting like 1-month bookings, 2-month bookings. So you have a lot of options to using these different tools to different levers that you can pull in order to make sure you're drawing a different crowd. So then I have some minimum stays for how far out somebody's booking. So if I have somebody booking super far out, that means outside of 90 days, then they have to stay for a week. If I have somebody booking far out, which means outside of 30 days, they have to book for a minimum of 4 nights or 4 days. And if it's last minute, they have 1-night minimum within the next 5 days. So here I have this tool that says, okay, I will only allow 2-night stays, but if it's in the next 5 days and I have, say, a gap day, they can stay for 1, because I'd rather have a little bit of occupancy in driving revenue if I need to. The next tool here is about extra persons. So I keep playing with this one. I don't know what the best option is. There's different data points that I'm finding. So the extra person fee is I set a minimum number of guests who can come into the property. This is a property that can have 10 people comfortably. Well, maybe not that comfortably, but I can actually squeeze a few more in. The idea is that I'll have 6 as my minimum, so that's like 2 per bed. I have 3 beds in there. But then anybody else is going to pay $20. So if I have 7 people, I get $20. If I get 10 people, I'm going to get 20 times 4, so $80. And I'll get that per night. So I can drive up the revenue and I can kind of say, yeah, I can have more people, but I don't want that, like you'll have to pay for it if you want to stay. And this is what hotels kind of do. Like if you want a suite, it's going to cost more. If you can have like 4, 5, 6 people in there, the prices are going to go up for that. You have a question?
Do you find, like, you have to police that? Are people honest?
Yes, you do have to police it.
Right? Yeah.
Security is an important issue with short-term rentals. So we don't really cover security today, but I will say that having a some type of wireless camera hooked up to your internet where you can log in. I have 3 different camera apps on my phone that I can look at different cameras depending on the property. We also use electronic locks that I can instantly turn on and off engagement. So if I have a guest that I need to remove for whatever reason, I can immediately make that deactivate the lock and they don't have the code. Right? So, and then the third one is device. There's a noise detection device, so it doesn't record audio, but instead what it does is it detects the decibel level inside of a unit. So you can kind of catch a party before it's happening, because you can say anything over, say, 75 decibels is beyond a loud conversation. And if it stays at a certain rate for a certain period of time, like 10 minutes, then it's going to trigger an alert to me. And then I can actually say, hey, by the way, we have no party policy, just so you know. Hey, I saw you had a lot of people coming in, and you can confirm that way. Are they actually following the house rules? Again, that's a whole other day of information on that. But it's a great tool. So they have one called Noise Aware, and the other one's called Minute, M-I-N-U-T. It's the one I'm a little more partial to because it detects not only your decibel levels, it detects humidity, detects heat, and it detects the number of wireless units in that space that it can see. So if you have a place that has, say, maximum 6 guests, but all of a sudden there's 30 devices trying to, connect to Wi-Fi, and it says there's 30 in here. Well, that's a lot more than 6 people. So it's a great little tool to have on.
What about the rule of eight?
Sorry, let's go to Dennis. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
So, I know you have a few states that are like 10 or more, but you're also trying not. How do you like take it? Or the whole family can expect it to be quiet? Because I'm thinking like there's some parties that maybe you have music on, but no one's having fun.
I don't know what kind of parties you go to, but yeah, but that's possible where it's a casual kind of get together,
But
right?
the music's just loud.
But I have house rules such as I don't allow unregistered guests onto the property, only the number of people that are registered originally. And then if I do it through a direct booking channel, I ask for everybody's contact details, who's gonna be there on the property. So I can police that already up front. There's other ways of doing that. Anyway, so going through this whole list, and I think the extra person fee is another one that, hey, if I need a place, I'm gonna pay for it. Because people who want to party on the cheap. I'll tell you that too. So, there's.
What was the second one called, the one that you prefer?
Minute. Like time.
Oh.
Minute. MINUT. You can look that up. So what I was saying is there's a lot of different levers that you can pull and change around here. And then Allison brought up an excellent point, which is the rule of 8. So this is just not any kind of specific rule, just a hard and fast rule that you can use for your short-term rental, which is when you take a look at a normal calendar, November is already abnormal because we have 5 Saturdays in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or is that December? Yeah, okay. So there's 4 weeks in a month on average, right? And sometimes you'll have a 5th weekend or a 5th Saturday or a 5th Sunday. But the idea is that you're gonna have 8 days. Friday and Saturday are by far the most popular. And when you take a look at my day of the week pricing adjustment, Friday I charge an extra 25%, Saturday is 30%. They are the most popular, so people will pay for that. That's why you see over here, higher demand, higher price. With the rule of 8, what you really want to do is try to find that sweet spot. And here, I'm not too worried at this time of year. In the spring, I'll probably increase it again. But right now, I kind of hit that rule of 8 pretty much, where the idea is that you have 8 days, for the 4 weekends, Friday and Saturday times 4. If I can have my price set to cover all of my base expenses over that period of time, anything I have during the week now is profit, 100% profit. If all of my expenses are covered by those 8 days, then anything I book afterwards is going to be profit.
Sorry, I just keep jumping in. Airbnb smart pricing. I don't want to pay for this because Airbnb's got it, right? We can use that, can't we?
Yeah, if you guys have ever seen Airbnb in the back end, they have this smart pricing tool. Who here has ever heard of it? 1, 2, okay. So smart pricing is an option within Airbnb where you can let Airbnb decide how much to rent out your space for. You can give them complete autonomy on it. The biggest problem with that is where Airbnb is designed to be basically a booking company, and they get paid by the booking, not paid on how many bookings they do. They get paid as a percentage. But because they're a volume business, they're mostly their attention is really designed on getting you as booked as much as possible and getting the highest level of occupancy, which means they drop your price into the floor. So if you ever have that option, say no, go, and tell me, and I'll help you out. Yes, sir.
Can you define the parameters in Price Labs where once you've hit a certain amount of revenue within that month or a duration, that your ADR will now then be reduced, knowing that, for example, if you have a target of X amount of dollars for your break even or your monthly expenses covered, and you mentioned that anything above and beyond that would be like above and beyond the rule of 8 is all profit.
Yeah.
So instead of having it from a 200 ADR, you drop it down to that 125, 130 or something, so that you're just maximizing your profit accordingly. Does Price Labs have that?
Okay, so for people online, in case if you didn't hear, I'll just repeat that. The question is whether or not Price Labs has the ability to drop your ADR once you hit your minimum revenue targets. Currently, I'll say no, they don't have that. But on the other hand, why would you want to limit and drop your price if you can make more?
Yeah, and that wasn't a suggestion.
Got it.
It was really more as to, because you've already heard, let's say a certain, not even just your monthly expenses, let's say your profitability on that is just completely maximized. Then if you just want to fill up days, that are gonna be.
Yeah, and that's where you can actually play around with all those levers. So you can increase your occupancy by providing a bigger discount on your orphan days, on your gap days. Or you can increase the discount on the next 7 days if you're coming up into a gap time.
Very smart. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, online, were there any questions? Long weekend, so I see Kadrut here saying long weekends. Yes, by all means, you can totally have your own, you can do manual pricing inside of each one of those different calendar cells. You can go in and modify that. If you know you have a long weekend coming up, you can do that. I don't know if Price Labs will do that. Again, that's the only tool I use. Again, Wheelhouse, Beyond Pricing, and a number of other dynamic pricing tools are out there. Any other questions? I don't think so. Okay. All right. So listing. We have our pricing. So the important thing now is that we've taken a look at what how much we can possibly make. We've taken a look at the property. We know that, okay, we have something that could be successful here and we're going to be able to make a profit off of it. You know, you're going to do all your best. You're going to get some great furniture. You put it into the property. Maybe as a management company, you work with your owner, the investor. They put all the furniture in for you. It saves a pretty penny, let me tell you. But then what do? You got to list it. What's your place? You need a title. There's three major things that you need. First, you need photos. Second, you need a title. And third is your listing description. And I'll tell you this, that every character that you leave untouched is $1 you're leaving on the table. Again, we're here to be investors and to drive that revenue up, so we want to get the best out of it. So what are you going to do with a listing title? You want to make sure that you have 50 characters to fill out. You want to hit every 50 characters. The ones that actually do the best, they've already broken it down through, I think it was AirDNA. There's a report, you can see it online. I don't have it for today, but it shows that the ones that have all 50 characters filled out and are very descriptive make the most revenue. If you have a place like Bob's house, okay, that's great. I know your name and you have a house, but it doesn't tell me what's in Bob's house. But if you tell me, you know, 3-bedroom, king bed, Disney Plus, free parking, fast Wi-Fi, I have a much better idea what Bob's house is. When he says, hey, my name's Bob and I have a house, in the listing description, makes a lot more sense. So the photos, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on the photo side because it is a real challenge. There's a lot of opportunities to go online and read exactly what makes a good Airbnb photo. You can hire, the biggest shortcut is to hire a real estate photographer, get them to do the photos, but to make sure they're doing it with a little tweak. Usually they're going to take it from corners, they're going to take it from angle shots. Straight on shots tend to do a little bit better with Airbnb. You're trying to present the space that somebody is going into rather than here's all the room that you can see and they give you that wide angle shot. So there's a lot of different resources online that will show you the best Airbnb photos to take. The other part of those photos is you want to make sure you tell a story with those photos. You need to have, what does the outside of the house look like, or the property? What is inside the property? What is around the property? So all those photos are going to make a big difference in terms of what you're trying to sell. Make sure that all the lights are on, all the angles are straight. If you have any electronics like TVs, I actually started off, I have my TVs on just so I can show, hey, here's Disney Plus. I don't need that on anymore. It's better if you have it off. Because somebody might say, Frozen, I hate Frozen, I'm never staying there. Even though they could just turn that off. But yeah, when you are doing that, you have to choose what they call a hero photo. So that hero photo is designed as your biggest selling feature of that property. So you have to look at what is the story you're trying to sell. If you want to have, say, you have a property that has a hot tub, it's an amazing amenity, and you really want to target that hot tub and drive people there, have some lights on, show some candles. I don't personally like having fire in my Airbnbs. I don't trust people, but that's just me. But there's different ways that you can actually drive people towards doing what the hot tub is and what the experience is. Again, you're here to sell memories. You're here to sell experiences. You're not here just for, here's a bed. Because if you just want to sell a bed, I can sell it to you for $50 a night. But we don't want to do that. We want to have something a little bit more. Again, it's that customer service that we're going back to that makes a huge difference in terms of the what people are going to take away, and then how they reward you at the end with a 5-star review.
Do you have a system in place for gathering reviews?
Yes. Yeah, there's different ways to do that. For gathering reviews, we can go into that. We're going to talk about that later. Yeah. For now, let's go into the listing and then the listing titles, and then Allison's going to go into sort of a deep dive. So again, we have the listing title, which is really important. We have 50 characters in Airbnb. We have our listing description. We have our house rules. We have our what's in the neighborhood. We have a few other areas. Every single one of those, the listing description is actually limited on how much you can have in there. And all the rest are actually kind of open game. You can actually have thousands of characters. So anytime you have the space, now I'll tell you this, a lot of people on Airbnb are booking based on the photos, not on the description. But if your description is well written, well crafted, it can make that difference. And then on top of that, if you have the all of your house rules appropriately lined up and assigned, then, and you can have quite a few different house rules: no smoking, no party, no events, no marijuana, parking is done this way, laundry is done this way, and you can do all those things. And then, you must wash the dishes before you leave, or you pay a $20 penalty fee for my cleaner. And then next thing you know, they walked out, they didn't do the cleaning or the dishes. You can actually charge them the $20 that you had in those house rules. There's different ways that you can optimize your business, because that's what it is, that, just tell them, this is my expectations. If you don't follow these expectations, here are the consequences. Otherwise, we're golden. Let's go. Happy to have you. And most people will come. Whether or not they read is one thing. Sorry, puberty kicked in there.
Yeah.
But having all of those different areas to fill out means anytime you don't fill them out, and I've seen a number of people on Airbnb who don't fill out everything, they're leaving opportunity on the table. So you don't want to do that. Allison, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Really quickly, actually, we're not going to do that activity because we don't have enough time. So what we were going to do at this point is we were going to get you to write your title for the properties that you have in front of you. So if at some point in time, if we're getting to a topic and you're like, oh hell, I know all that stuff, then take a few minutes and write down a title that you would suggest for the property that you're working with. Okay? And then we can compare it afterwards to potentially, I'm not giving you that. Anyway, we'll take a look at them afterwards. What we are going to be getting into, my first question to you guys is, do you have any questions? I know T's been very vocal and it's been awesome with the interactivity, but I know there's other bodies in the room. So do any of you have any thoughts or questions? Well, obviously you have thoughts, but do you have any questions on what we've talked about? We're all good? Everyone's still awake? Okay, online and sitting here in the room, especially here, everyone's just had a little bit of lunch. Stand up for a second. Stand up, let's do some stretching.
Even online.
Okay, let's see everybody online. Look at that. Come on, Kadroot, stand up. There we go. All right, let's do some jumping jacks. 5 jumping jacks. All right. This is awesome. If anyone wants to do burpees or push-ups, go for it. But that was CrossFit for me yesterday, so I'm not doing that. So you can sit down again. What we're going to be doing at this point is we're going to get into the nitty-gritty on Fast Forward for the SEO ratings, Superhost and Premier Host, reviews, and I think that may be it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to pass it back.
Okay. All right, so just to cover SEO, again, you're dealing with a technological platform, Airbnb, being a website, it's all about getting those bookings in. And like any other search engine, it's really designed around SEO. So what are the important parts that you have to think about? They actually have SEO on everything and things that you won't even think of. For instance, did you know that they have an SEO on photos? Quality, number, captions. Again, if you don't fill out the captions on a photo, you're leaving one opportunity on the table. And it may not be from the guest side, maybe from Airbnb's side. So anytime that you're trying to get onto the first page, getting that like right at the top of the page is like the most amazing feeling. And I'll tell you, I've been there. It was great. Now I fight for it constantly.
Especially if you're giving everyone the tips.
Yeah, exactly. In Kitchener, I know I'm fighting with 2 other people for the top spot for what I have to offer them with that one listing.
By any chance, is it our other listings?
They're in Waterloo and other places. Yeah, so you really have to take a look at that. The number of characters that you have in your title are really important. Everything is going to be based on click-through rates, very similar to any other website. So your click-through rate, you want it to be good, but you don't want just the click-through rate. You want people to convert. So you have to have a good listing description. You have to have interesting titles. You have to have that story that's going to get people to come in and say, this is an amazing space. I want to stay here. Look at all these amenities that they have. And speaking of amenities, that's another one. If you can, the way I look at the amenities, I believe we were going, I don't know if we have it or not, but I can always send it to you. It's all the amenities that Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, all of them actually have. The way I treat them, it's a checklist. I want to get as close to 100% as possible. Some I can't. I can't have a mountain view in Kitchener. I can't have a waterfront view in Tibet because it's the farthest place away from water that you can get on Earth. But the whole idea is that those amenities, if you have the opportunity, you have the revenue, and you say, hey, you know what, a hot tub, which are a huge demand for Airbnbs, it's that luxury that most people don't have. If you can put it in a hot tub, pay for it, get it in there, and your booking rates are going to go up. Your occupancy and your ADR will both go up, virtually guaranteed. And then the people are going to say, I want to book there more often, and then that's going to just, the more conversions you have, the higher your SEO ranking is going to go up. So again, everything is going to be into that. If you have your neighborhood description, what's in your neighborhood, right? It's one of those fields that you fill out when you see your listing description, and it's like, oh, it's another field? I don't know what's in my neighborhood. Take the time, fill it out, do it right, and make that difference, and it will actually show. Tell people where the closest grocery store is, where the gas station is, what your favorite place to go is. Like maybe it's a cafe around the corner. The secret spot that most people don't know about Tell them, because people love secrets and being in on that. That's going to be a great little way to people go, wow, this guy's giving me a lot of information. This is fantastic. So all of those things are going to lead into that SEO. Every field that you have means put in the highest level of quality to get the highest return. Is Michaela coming back?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think well, there's one thing I had on here, the superhost. Oh, I can do that. Here it is. I will set this up. So, so one of the other things that happens is that you can get host status. Once you actually have some experience and you've been having a listing, you have your listing description, you have that completed, you have a great title, you have great photos, you launch it, you get a few bookings, and you start getting reviews. And those reviews are part of the SEO strategy in order to get higher up in the ratings. Then, oh, awesome, yeah, great. I didn't realize, sorry, online folk, we'll share a screen with you. Anyway, with the host status, if you actually have the ability to get it, go for it. It's an extra bump. It's more SEO rating for you. So the idea is that with Verbo or VRBO, as it was previously called, I think it goes by both, they have what's called a premier host. So this premier host, basically, you have to reach certain criteria in order to get in there. So they have here program eligibility. Whoops. How do I make the internet work? What do I do? There we go. I got it. There we go. So eligibility, you need to have 4.3% higher or higher average reviews. So you need to get all of your reviews as they get aggregated. The more reviews you have, the more you're able to balance and maintain your rating level. You want to have 90% or higher booking acceptance rate. That means when somebody books or has an inquiry that you accept them, they want you to take those people because they get paid by your acceptance. They don't get paid from you saying, I don't like the cut of their jib. I'm going to get rid of them. No thanks. They're not getting paid, so they don't want to promote that. They want to make sure that you're accepting people. They want to have 5% or lower owner-initiated cancellation rate. So I've had a booking once where I had somebody in, I had one guest registered, 3 people showed up, and when I spoke with the guy who booked it, he wasn't even there. Well, this is a cancellation in the making. Sorry, I don't trust you, I don't know you, you're not registered, you weren't paid for, this wasn't an expectation, you guys are gonna have to leave. So that would be an owner, what do they call it? Owner-initiated cancellation. Now, fortunately, out of the dozens that I've had, dozens and dozens, I've only had one. That's great. So I fit within that. And then you need 3 or more reviews. They don't want to just let anybody in. You have to have some positive reviews. They want to make sure that they're promoting somebody who's really paying attention to their business. So they want to have those 3 or more reviews. They didn't say 5-star reviews. They just said reviews. So you want to get as many as you can. Then they say 5 bookings or 60 booked nights. And the reason why they have that difference is that you can have 5 bookings and that's 5 one-day bookings, but it doesn't really help if you have, say, a 3-bedroom home and somebody wants to stay for 2 months because they're in between renovations. So they give you that option as well. As long as you have 60 booked nights, they don't have to be continuous or contiguous. They just have to be over that period of time. And they do this every quarter, just like Airbnb does. So every 3 months they go through, and as long as you're booked out and you meet those requirements, you get that premier status. By having that premier status, your SEO ranking goes up. And then Airbnb has a very similar one here. It's very simple. They call it Superhost. You have to have a 4.8 overall rating. This is much higher and much harder to achieve than Verbo. Because all it takes, you have 10 different bookings, you have 2 4-star and the rest are 5-star, well, that's gonna pull you down. Plus, they don't rate all of your review as equal. The most important one that they actually have is cleanliness. How clean is this place? There are people who will go in, look around, look for a hair, and if they find one hair and they can actually take a photo of it, they'll send it in and ask for a full refund or ask for a discount. You don't want those guys. But the reviews are really important. The cleanliness is really important. The communication is important. They have, I think, 6 or 7 different criteria that they rate you on. They're all weighted differently, and so you want to make sure that you're getting as high as possible in that. Number 1 being cleanliness. You have to have 10 or more stays. So they say here 10 stays in the past year or 100 nights over at least 3 stays. So that helps you, because even though they do it every quarter, it helps with those longer term stays that you're actually still getting a benefit for that. They say less than a 1% cancellation rate. So if you go out and say, I don't like this guy, cancel him, I don't like this guy, cancel him, you have 100 bookings and you cancel 10 of them, you're not getting Superhost status. They don't want you to cancel. They don't want the headache and the cost of having to deal with it on their end. They want you to accept those bookings and go along with it. So it's really important. This is why, again, going into the listing description and giving them that experience, what they're going to expect, and especially with your house rules, you call that up in advance. Those are the people, that's where you can prevent just any random person from coming in, and you can lower your cancellation rate by having a better listing description in advance. And then they also have a response rate. There's actually a secret here. So they say 90%. What they don't tell you is that it's within 1 hour. Who here is awake 24/7 looking at their Airbnb app all the time? I already said I'm an old man, I go to bed. I'm not awake when somebody's booking in or just even inquiring. So the trick is you use an automated messaging tool that will automatically send them a message within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 59 minutes. All of a sudden you have 100% response rate within 1 hour, and that's a nice little boost, and it gets you a Superhost. It's part of the Superhost status rating. Yeah. Okay. So the last part I'm going to talk about is reviews. So reviews, as I said, this is the currency. This is the bread and butter of short-term rentals, specifically Airbnb. And why I'm going to always say Airbnb as well as VRBO, Booking.com, and I always start with Airbnb is because they're the dominant leader in the market. Vrbo has been around for a long time. Booking.com has been around for decades. However, it's more European-based, it's more hotel-based, they're getting into short-term rentals and just not quite there yet. With the way Airbnb is specifically designed for mobile devices, for short-term stays, for people to come and go from wherever they are. So Airbnb, they are the 800-pound gorilla in the short-term rental market. So you cater to them, and you know the other 20% of your bookings can come in through all the other booking channels. With that, Airbnb has a very stringent set on their reviews. They have cleanliness, communication, the value of the place. You want to make sure that you review all of those different points on their review scale, and that you're filling out each one of those in your own head as a guest. If you are charging $300 a night and you have a basement apartment in a small 50,000 person town, and there's lots of opportunity for them to book somewhere else, and you don't provide them any coffee even, well, I'm not getting a lot of value out of that. So I would be like, no, sorry, this is a one on value and a 1 overall, because I feel like I got duped, right? And that's how people are gonna rate. If you provide them with that value, that service, have good communication, you have a clean place, you have very well-trained cleaners, all of a sudden you can score very high and you get those 5-star reviews. And those 5-star reviews, the more you have over time, that's where you can start doing, I was talking with D in the back there, what we were saying is that as your reviews go up over time, that's where your pricing strategy also helps out. Now I can go and okay, I got like 3 5-star reviews. I still have a 5-star rating. I'm a great host. I'm a super host. I got 3 more this month. I'm going to increase my price $5 a night. Might not sound like a lot, but I might make an extra $100, $200 over a month. Now, if I do that every single month until I hit my magical top, where every property will have its own glass ceiling, but if you find it, then great. Now you know you hit your maximum revenue. This is going to be a great way that you're going to be able to capitalize on that. And it's those reviews that you get over time that allow you to increase your price, because now the old reviews that you had when you were, say, $100 a night are of still the same value when you're now $300 a night. It still says that you have a 5-star review, so they think the value is there, and they already know, hey, this guy already has great amenities, it's got a great property, it fills out what I need, I can increase the price over time, and it's the reviews that are actually giving me that revenue over the length of that period.
Question from Deanna.
Oh, yeah. So Deanna has a question online. Can you set up auto response to any inquiry on the Airbnb platform? Yes, you can. So with the automated tools for messaging out there, you can have an immediate response that says, hey, and the way I do it is, hey, I may be asleep right now or away from my phone. I'll be getting back to you as soon as I can, but to let you know, I got your inquiry, we'll be happy to talk to you. Let me get back to you in a few minutes, or as soon as I can. I don't want to give them too much of an expectation. I also don't want to tell them, like, if they send me the message that they have an inquiry or a booking, I don't want to respond immediately, because I don't want to set that tone that I'm on my phone. Because all of a sudden it's like, hey, this is awesome, thanks for booking. And then they send a message back and they have a question, they have to wait until I wake up in the morning. They might not like that. So I'll wait like 15 minutes, or I have that first hour I can play around with, so I can set it up there. But yes, I respond to that. I respond to inquiries. On Airbnb, one of the things that you can do as well is you can do what they call instant booking. I turn instant booking on, it's an SEO boost, because they want people to go online, book, and they know that they're getting a place. I want people to go through a little bit of a hoop, if I can, to know that they're the person who's actually booking properly. So on Airbnb, you have the option of making sure they have a government verified ID, that they have, I think you can set it for 25 plus, which is great. I highly recommend that. And there's a third one that unfortunately I forget right off the top of my head. So whenever you can, like, put in those different rules on Airbnb in order to get those people to sort of self-select themselves out. They may not have a proper ID. Maybe they're booking on somebody else's behalf. You want to not allow people to do that. You want to make sure that you're getting the right people in. So it's your first way of selecting the right guest and having them self-select themselves out if they need to. However, I also respond to everything. So I respond to booking inquiries. I get that instant book. I immediately have saying, hey, thanks for booking with me. If they get through, oh yeah, that's sort of the third part, is they have to have multiple reviews from other hosts. So that way I already know they got 3 positive reviews or more from other hosts, which means that they're probably a good guest and they didn't raise too much of a stink. I've had somebody who's booked, and when they don't reach those criteria, I had somebody at one point who had a 4-star review from other hosts, and they wanted to book with me. And then I was reading, and now I can go into their profile and look at what was going on. They were smoking marijuana in every single unit that said we had a no smoking rule. Well, I have a no smoking rule, and I don't want them smoking, so I'm just not going to accept it. And there's ways to not accept them rather than cancel them. Again, all kinds of little tips and tricks to learn. The other part is that with that instant booking, I send out the immediate message, hey, thanks so much for booking, this is great, love to see you. Here's the dates that you're coming in. I'll send you the check-in information as soon as you're, like, a couple of days beforehand. I've had people who will ask, hey, can I come and check out your place before I go there? No. Do you go into a hotel and look at the room before you go in? No, of course not. You're not going to do that. Plus, I have random strangers there. I don't want you walking in front of them or anything. But beyond that, like I send out messages for here's the check-in instructions. I'll give them the code on how to get in. Here's the house rules. Here's all the information that you need. If they stay for more than one night, I also do a follow-up and say, hey, you've stayed here for one night already. I know you're here for 3. How was it? Do you have any questions? Is there anything I can help you out with? And trying to provide that service so that they know that I'm not leaving them in the lurch. 9 times out of 10, nobody has any questions, nobody needs anything, but every so often I'll have like, yeah, I'm running a little low on decaffeinated coffee, or I'm I need some tea. I had a place that didn't have tea, and that was a weird thing for me. So anyway, okay, no problem, I'll get you some tea. And then just being able to operate on that level, you're getting those automated messages out. You give them the check out instructions as well. So when somebody's leaving, hey, by the way, just to remind you of the house rules, I need you to run the dishes. If you can bring them, strip the beds and take them down to the laundry room, that would be awesome. Or, make sure the doors are locked, the windows are closed. All those little details, you don't want them to leave the house open or our property open for anybody to walk in. Just make sure when you leave, just hit the lock button on the door and everything's good. So lots of options with that, with instant booking, and it winds up all coming back into that SEO. The reviews all come back into the SEO and your pricing strategy. All of those are going to be different ways. So, Allison, do you have any last minute things? Well, the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Go take a break and have a drink. I was going to say, I've heard of drinking from the fire hose, but I haven't seen a fire hose of information coming from someone quite that in depth, and I'm so grateful that he's my partner. I can't have him, sorry. What I was going to say at this point is that what I would like for us to do, Keith alluded to it earlier, but there are some case studies at the back of the workbook, or if you're online, just keep scrolling down. I believe it's page 8. Page 7 is the case studies, What I want you to do is at your table, read through them, and then just chat amongst yourselves. What would you do if this was a scenario that you were dealing with? How would you deal with it? Okay, so read through it. If you're online, do your little chat thing or whatever Daniel does with you. All of the magical stuff that Daniel does. So do that. I'm gonna give you about 10 minutes, have a chat, and then we'll come back and see what actually happened. Ooh, and I would like to see what you folks would do in these scenarios. So in the first case study, which is the party on dude, what did you do in that scenario?
Scenario 1? Yeah, first scenario.
Oh, wow, this table. Hey guys, if anybody wants to book an Airbnb, you want to see Matheson and T, they're going to have parties. I can guarantee you they're only going to have 2, and then they're going to shut that down. Okay, so they're all right with parties, so great. How about you? What did you say you were going to do?
I wasn't as fun. I know.
That's okay. You'll be profitable. We're all good.
We were all like, we're going to just call the police, I guess.
Call the police. Interesting. That's a good scenario. Just call the police.
Super fast. I wasn't leaving the tea behind, I'll tell you that.
How about this table? What would you do with the party on dudes?
We would kick them out.
Kick them out. How are you going to kick them out? Cancel the booking. Okay, so you're going to call Airbnb and cancel the booking? Okay. And they go, yeah, it's fine, but I'm having a great party here, I'm not leaving.
Yeah, I'm bumping.
Okay, so great, I like that you're calling Airbnb.
That would be
Dennis.
Is there a way to charge some exorbitant fee if we find
I don't
out?
Maybe.
They might have made a mess already, so we might have to charge them like $500
Maybe.
to $1,000, and if you're having a party, you find out. 35 to 100.
Write it in your rules, see if you can enforce it that way, absolutely. Daniel, how about online?
Yeah, so online, they're definitely along the same lines about calling the police. Daryl says to call the police and have them removed for breaking policy. And then Drew also jumped in and said to call the party that booked the listing and let them know that you have been notified that there is a party, and so someone will be by to confirm that there are no issues. Or at least it was notified that there appears to be a party. Someone's gonna come by to verify that there aren't any issues.
Nice,
Classy.
nice, Drew, that's well done. Now you can hear what actually happened, because Keith has dealt with all of these.
All right, so Dennis over here was saying, can you actually charge them for being in violation of your rules? And the answer is short is yes, if Airbnb will support it. So what the first thing that you have to do in these situations is you have to call Airbnb. The very first thing, it even calls it out here. I had minute, I had notification. I had 3 notifications. It tells me every 10 minutes it was saying, hey, there's loud noise. Hey, there's loud noise. Hey, there's loud noise. So every time I texted the guest and I said, by the way, I'm getting a notification that there's a loud noise. Please keep it down. We have no party policy. Just want to be polite and let you know this is what it is. Oh, no worries. We're not having a party. We're having a birthday celebration. That sounds like a party to me. Especially when you have balloons that say 19, when you look at them and they have 2 cases of beer and a bunch of bottles from the LCBO. Okay, I don't want to really invade his privacy. I want to give him save his face and give him some integrity, let him think he has some, and just let him own up to it. No, we're not having a party. I get that in response 3 times. And I finally said, okay, I called Airbnb and I said, I have a party going on, or I have the suspicion there's a party. I have a noise detection device. It's telling me that there's a lot of noise. The guy is saying he's not having a party, but he said birthday celebration. That sounds like a party to me. The guy on the other end said, yeah, sounds like a party to me too. You got it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and cancel it. We're gonna contact him to see if we can cancel that. While I'm on the phone, I'm looking at my camera. So I was looking at the camera previously to find out that this guy had brought in all this alcohol and all of his friends and so on. While I'm on the phone, he's on camera in the middle of a family-friendly neighborhood and he drops his shorts. He's completely butt naked. On camera. Okay, sorry, I really have to mention this to you, Mr. Airbnb guy. Like, I got a naked guy running around on my front lawn right now. I think the party's getting a little out of hand. Can we cancel this now? Let us call the guy and see what happens. Well, he calls him and he said, you never got a call. Well, no wonder, his pants are over there. Jeez.
But meanwhile, stalker Airbnb Keith is sitting on the street watching all of this.
So yeah, because it's not that far away from where I live, I actually drove down the street and it's like, I'm on the phone with the Airbnb guy. It's now 2 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, I'm like super tired because that's like 4 hours after yeah, exactly, right? I'm like dying here. I got to get rid of this guy. So eventually Airbnb said, fine, we're going to cancel the reservation. We tried to call him, he refused the call or whatever. We're going to cancel the reservation. Perfect. So as soon as they said that, I confirmed online, they canceled the reservation. It says cancel. Perfect. Went into my app to control my electronic lock, removed access. Then all of a sudden I get a phone call or a text message. Hey, I can't get in. The number's not working. Well, yeah, because you're canceled. Why am I canceled? Because you're naked on my front lawn. Oh, okay. Nicest people ever. They cleaned up. It took them a long time, about an hour or so, but they cleaned up the place, took everything out of there, and then they all drove home. Unfortunately, 2 of their buddies did not have a way to get home, and they were sitting out on the street, on the sidewalk at 3 o'clock in the morning now. And it's like, oh, hey guys, oh, hey, what's going on? Oh, I'm the property manager. I heard that you guys are out. Oh, okay. That's what happened.
They also left you some alcohol.
Oh yeah, they left me some alcohol. So here's another tip. Make really good friends with your neighbors. One of the best ways, give them the leftover alcohol after a party. They love it. Yeah. Next one.
All right, next one. Filthy animals. What did you guys do with the filthy animals scenario? So you've got these, this crew, and the cleaners came in and they found open food containers and overflowing garbages, which means, of course, the squirrels and raccoons have probably come in as well, if they were outside.
Oh, and the inside it was also.
Oh, good grief, on the inside it was also filthy. So what did you folks do in that scenario? Let's go, sorry, what is your name?
It's Callum.
Callum.
Thank you. It's so for this one, I was thinking this is actually where I thought to charge the person. But I also, in reading it, noticed that we didn't specify whether this was a rule or not, whether they had to do these things or not. So then I was like, I don't really know, but I figured at least charge them, we could deal with it later. But yeah, I was wondering about that.
Okay, so just in case you couldn't hear what he was saying, Caleb was saying if it wasn't in the rules, he wasn't really sure if we could charge it or not. If it wasn't in the rules, they could leave the place like that, and what, you don't really have a leg to stand on, as far as I know, as I look over my shoulder at Airbnb Key, because he does this stuff. Anyway, this group, what would you do? Denise and Tom said the same thing. How about over here, Kyle, what would you folks do?
Is there like somebody could write a review on their on the like actual person that stayed there, saying this guy left my house rented, like really bad and stuff, and basically just give them a bad review so they don't get those privileges from other Airbnbs.
Excellent, I like that, I like that. And how about the online folk?
Yes. So we do have a few people who are along the same lines. We did have actually Deanna did pose questions. She said, what can you do? I'm looking forward to finding out. So Keith, you'll definitely look to shed some insight there. But Daryl said back charge, Forrest said deep cleaning charges. Abel's question, can we even do that? However, we do have Deanna saying, suck it up, take it to the chin. We got Drew saying reviews on the client, and so other hosts are aware. And so some other people are saying it's just cost of business. So it'd be interesting to see what your response is to that.
I'll sum it up. It's the cost of business. Suck it up, Buttercup. Your place is going to be filthy. People are going to come in and be gross. I had vomited, not from this group. I had a different group that came in, actually had a party. They left food outside. Toss it kind of close at the garbage can, but not quite, and then all kinds of rice and other food was all over the place. They had vomit in his sink. Somehow they sprayed beer or alcohol, something really sticky, all over the entire floor of my basement.
That's beer pong.
I don't know if it was beer pong. I think they were like shaking champagne bottles or something, because it was also, they were there for a wedding, and it was on the walls too. So anyway, with that group, what I learned is that I gave them a negative review. However, one of the ways to give a negative review, don't give it to them right away. Because as soon as you leave a review, you're going to get Airbnb notifying them that, hey, they left you a review, you should leave one. And then if you don't do it in a certain period of time, there's a magical 14-day period where they can leave a review. And if they think it's unwarranted, they can fight it. What I did is I waited until the last hour of the last day where I could leave them a review, put it on there saying, my God, they were filthy, horrible animals. This is terrible. And I left them a negative review, and they left me a 5-star. It was wonderful. Oh, it was great.
Women cheated, man.
They did retract it. They were upset. They were like, this is unwarranted. And when you're doing your reviews with guests, you can actually say on the Airbnb platform, you can say whether or not you will accept them again as a guest. And it's like, so you can leave the nicest thing. Oh yeah, 5-star, highly recommended, wonderful people, never coming back. That's what I learned is actually the better way to do it, because then you don't, unfortunately those people are going to get through, unless if they're constantly smoking marijuana, and apparently they don't even respond at that point. So when these people came in, yes, they were filthy, they left garbage, open food all over the place, and at the end it's like, well, did they attract ants? Did the bugs get in? No. done. Just throw it all into a garbage bag. I have more garbage cans. I find that the two biggest challenges I find are garbage and laundry. So those are the things that you have to look at.
Office had a really good suggestion that we offer a concierge service whenever somebody's staying an entire week, where we come on garbage day and do a clean for them. It's part of the package when you're doing a long stay, then you can work that into.
That sounds like a lot more work than it's worth. I see where you're coming from, and I think it's a great idea, and giving them that extra and do it as an add-on, which you can actually kind of do upcharges. It's a great way to drive more revenue into your business.
And save the garbage.
Yeah,
Right, like-
yeah, exactly. Yes, sir.
So the only thing extra out of pocket was the additional hourly rates.
It was really the hourly rate of the cleaner, and I wanted to get that 5-star review, and I figured, okay, these guys are filthy, they're just never gonna come back. I'll say no thank you when it asks me if they can come back.
And you earn 2 weeks revenue from them?
Yep. What's the problem, right? I got 2 weeks revenue. I made like $2,000 or something at the time. What's the issue? I'll pay an extra $100 for that.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna start online for the next one, which is the sketchy initial message.
All right, so with online in Zoom, Erica says, just recommend a 1-bed in the area instead of using your unit. Why use my unit if you're just going for a walk, might be much easier. However, Deanna says, don't use the auto book feature. I would let that request die. Very interesting there. Flora says to check previous host reviews. Abel says, I feel like it's a cost of business. We don't know for sure if they're lying. I would not turn away the business. Now, Drew says, I'm checking their previous reviews again. And Deanna says, it's sketchy, continue to ask questions. Erica says to offer to meet them upon arrival, maybe help with luggage or something like that. Drew says, well, he has a question about the noise detector, so maybe we can talk about that later in terms of you have to disclose that. But yeah, so that's essentially as far as that scenario, that's where the feedback that came.
Lots of great suggestions there, nice job.
Yeah.
And how about Matheson and T and Kyle? What would you do in that case study, the last one with the initial sketchy message?
We don't think that's it. Me, as a single woman with all the money in the world, and us with an Airbnb beside a river trail, we didn't find that sketchy.
Same thing? No, you didn't find it sketchy? Okay, awesome. Okay, so they didn't find it sketchy at all. How about you guys at the back?
Yeah, I initially said the same thing, actually. I
Okay.
had the same perspective that it might not be that crazy. I could see myself doing the same thing, going somewhere for a weekend. I walk, I hike, and I go to places, and I'll stay there for a couple of days at the same place. So I didn't think it was odd, but I was like, I think, now that I've heard some of those suggestions, because initially, I think this is where like it's good to have these conversations, because I think my mind was just focused on what you guys did in training. So I'm like, oh, I'll ignore that request or that, let it die, right? But maybe asking more questions is a better way to go about it, and maybe offer to meet them, things like that. So I think
I
there's
love
still,
that, yeah.
there's a lot of realism to it. They might not be as sketchy as it sounds.
Yeah, I actually really like that with the offering to help them with their luggage. That was a nice job there for the online people.
Yeah.
Jed, what would you say?
So before I accept this request, did this guest have previous reviews?
We'll get into that, but yes.
So Jed was just wondering if the guest had previous reviews, so he's gonna wanna check that out first.
And if so, then what were the reviews?
And if so, what were the reviews? So in other words, do a really deep dive on the reviews that guest has had before.
And this is a 3-day over a weekend, and based on high rates?
Yeah,
High weekend rates?
minimum stay of 3 days on weekends.
And they were saying the minimum rate
Yeah.
on the week?
About the money.
Jed's all about the money, that's right, that's
My language there.
I was just asking.
Okay, how about this table?
I would try to have a conversation and try to figure out why they want a place with more beds for one person. I mean, does it matter, are you just trying to sleep in a different bed every night, or are you actually bringing in more people or something? So just trying to build more conversation. Yeah, that's right.
I feel really insulted.
Okay, so we're just saying build more conversation, find out more money.
I'm gonna be like, why do you need to know why I'm doing all this. What I have money, I've got my booking, I'm here. Why are you asking me so many? You know what? I'm gonna find someone else. Who
But it depends on how you ask. If Kyle came across and said, hey, why are you booking my place? There's only one of you and there's 4 beds here. You sleep in a different bed there's a different way of asking, right?
Sleeping in my bed.
Different way of asking. You could be tricky. Jen, what were you gonna say?
I'm Goldilocks.
Are there any other options, or are you the only option in that area?
There's other options.
There's other options in that area.
We're gonna find out what really happened.
Alright, so this is a request I get a lot. One guest, and it's like a 4-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, or even a 2-bedroom. Now, I'll be the first one to say, I have stayed in a 2-bedroom apartment by myself, but that's because I was doing a little bit of research. But I wanted to, I wanted more than just a small little 1-bedroom place where I was going to be there for a long period of time. I wanted more space, more room. Makes sense. But I would never get a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom. I'm paying for all that extra space. Why would I do that? As one guest, this is terrible. But you never know who's coming. So the question is, what tools do I have to look at? Jed already called it out over there. How many reviews did they already have? What's their profile look like? The reviews that they had, were they all positive? Did they have some negatives? So you're looking at that. Does it make sense? Then you also have the ability to communicate with them. What is bringing you to town? It's such a simple question, and it's not confrontational. Hey, what's bringing you to town, man? It's cool that you're booking with me. What's going on? Just leave it open-ended and see how they respond. And that response, I've gotten this request multiple times where, oh yeah, hey, yeah, me and my buddies are coming in. Oh, you and your buddies, how many? Because you're only booked for one. I can, if you take a look at my house rules, you can only allow for the registered number of guests who are in. Oh, I forgot to do that. I'll add the other 8. Okay, sure. I have a different expectation. Maybe what happens if I have a cleaner that's going to be out and I have 9 people that they have to clean after? They make a lot more mess than just one person. So that's a question. They generate a lot more garbage and a lot more material and everything else that goes along with that. So this is actually kind of an open-ended one. I've actually 2 that I'm thinking of. 1, oh yeah, it's just me. Are you sure? It's a big place, just you? Yeah, it's just me. I'm the only one who's going to be there. Next thing I know, I look on the camera and it's like, hey, what's going on? There's like a noise detection thing going on. 3 people are there. Call them up. Hey, what's going on? Why are there 3 people there? You can only have registered guests. What? I'm not at the space right now. Wait, 3 random strangers are in my place and you're not there? Okay, I'm going to cancel this reservation. And I had to do that. In another situation, I had, yeah, it's just me and my friend. Oh, this is one I also get. Yeah, me and my friends are going to just come into town for a little bit. And this was the Halloween weekend. Airbnb had a policy, no party policy, especially over Halloween. They weren't allowing bookings to come in. So what people were doing was planning, I'll book a weekend booking and I'll boot it out of there after one day. Because nobody wants to be around a party place after they partied. And I'm thinking, not sure if I want these people. So I engaged them in conversation. What's bringing you to town? Oh, me and my friends are actually running exams for our course right now at the University of Waterloo. Exams, it's Halloween. That's weird. What are you taking? That's cool that you're writing exams. What are you taking? Oh, it's a half-credit course of accounting. Oh, accountants are boring. They don't party. And it's a half-credit course. Yeah, exam time. I love you. Come on in. So everyone is going to be different, and it's about how you approach it, how you can look at their profiles, look at the background, take your time, do the due diligence. You see that booking, it's like, oh, I want to accept that. That's like worth $800. That's $1,000. That's a $3,000 booking. But is it really worth it? You have to, is it going to be worth the headache? And then after a while, maybe they have a party. Is it going to be that bad of a party depending on the space? If it's a 1-bedroom apartment, you're not going to have 50 people in there having a party. But, to each their own. You have to figure out what are the limits that you have, what are the parameters that you set, and where do you draw the line? I've actually had people, I was even seeing over here, I have people right now who are in violation of one of my rules. However, I'm just gonna let that slide because they've paid quite a bit and I know who booked them, and it doesn't make sense for me to cancel it and risk a negative review. I'll gladly, they will give me a 5-star review. They've already raved about how great the space is, so fine, I get paid in that one. So yeah, this is the request I always get. I have one guest who's showing up. It's a 4-bedroom apartment. Is it really one person or is it, oh yeah, I forgot. Never know. Yeah, all right, you wanna, well, yeah, so we're gonna do Q&A, so ask us anything. I wanna go to Kadroop first. He had a great question. Where is it? Do you have to disclose in the listing the fact that you have a noise detector? So for all of your security devices that are potential of privacy violations, you must disclose it. So your noise detection device must be in there, your camera is in there. I have to admit, I don't think I added my noise detection device in there, so I gotta add that. But you must do it. However, there's also other rules. You can't have it facing in, it can't be, if it's a full private area, you can have cameras on the outside, you can't have it on the inside. If it's a shared room situation, you can only have cameras outside, and inside only in common spaces such as your kitchen and your living room. You can't have any cameras facing into bedrooms or bathrooms. So that's cameras. Are you allowed to look at guests via video when they're staying at your property? Only if they're outside. Okay, in the presence of a camera or noise detection device, a sort of violation of privacy also is a mandatory. Yeah, so that's a repeat. So yes, just list it, and as long as it's in the listing and it's clear to them, it's fine. But if you ever had, say, a situation where you wanted to remove the guest or you had an insurance claim against them, say they broke the sofa, then all of a sudden the fact that, and they say, hey, I'm on camera, how do you know this? Oh, I have a camera at my property. I never agreed to that. That wasn't disclosed in the listing. Your insurance claim could be denied just because of that.
This Mohammed's comment
Mohammed says, I'll weigh their luggages just like a flight. Nope, sorry, only 23 kilograms in this lot. And it better not be liquid. My question is, why do Airbnb sounds like an adult daycare? The hosts are so entitled, unfortunately. I'd like to ask Mohammed what you mean by entitled. But that's actually a pretty good one, like weighing their luggage and making sure it's not liquid. And yes, sometimes Airbnb is an adult daycare. 9 times out of 10 it's not, but you do get anything. Similar to long-term rentals, you get, if you're not careful with your screening process, you can get anyone, and that can be a very scary thing. Here in Ontario, one of the other things, and I think that's why it may sound like maybe I'm a little more entitled, is that this is my property, it's my investment, and I want to make sure it's safe. Plus, I don't have it as a long-term rental due to the fact that here in Ontario, we have such a tenant-friendly landlord-tenant board that if I want to evict somebody, it takes me minimum 3, 6, 9 months. Meanwhile, it takes me 3 hours to evict somebody who's having a party. So it's about protection. It's about protection of the asset and protecting the relationships. Okay, Dana, if you have a video doorbell, and what is your preferred camera system? Do you link it with door access? Oh, yes, sorry, and I'm jumping down, Mohammed, you meant the clients, not the host. Yes, clients are definitely entitled. Airbnb, I'll get into that in a second, but Dana, so I use 3 different camera systems right now. The one that I'm really liking at the moment is one called Wise. You can get that off of Amazon. It's a $35 camera. You just need a micro SD card in there. It's easy to install. You can get, it has wireless capability. You can get it wired or battery powered if you want. The problem with battery powered is that, well, somebody has to go and charge it every so often. So that's kind of a pain, and it makes it easier if it's hardwired in. The With the SD card, everything gets downloaded onto the SD card and I can access the memory for a 2-week period. If I use something like Ring or other services, other camera services, they typically have a subscription fee and they're also more expensive cameras. They're better in terms of picking up audio and video because they also pick up audio as well. They can hear people talking. And because it's in an open space, it's actually still fine. But right now I use Wise. It's an affordable system, $35. I can buy 3 of them, have it, front, back, side if I need. So there's lots of options. Yeah, and then Mohammed, you were saying about the where were we? Yeah, the Untitled. Yeah, so a lot of guests. The whole point of similar to the landlord-tenant board. Guests are, I don't want to use necessarily the word entitled, but they definitely want to take they have a little bit more advantage over you due to the fact that Airbnb is right now a publicly traded company and therefore they're responsible to the shareholders. They will not give you a refund just because somebody left a big mess. It's like, sorry, that's the cost of doing business. You're going to have to deal with it. And if you don't do all the right things, they're going to deny those insurance claims. They're not in the business of making you money. They're in the business of making themselves money. So you as the host, it's very similar to the landlord-tenant board that way, where you have to have really good proof of that case. And when you have a proof of a guy dancing naked on your front step, it's pretty good proof, let me tell you. All right. Yes?
Maybe a 2-part question. So more for the arbitrage or management strategies, what would you say would be, who would be a part of your power team? And if you were to make like a starter kit for somebody just starting off and they're going to go into those strategies, i.e., what would you put in that starter kit? So kind of a 2-part question.
Okay, that's a good one. So the question is, if you guys couldn't hear online or in the room, the question is, who would you add to your power team if you're doing, well, really any strategy? I think there's a power team. Yeah, there we go. So digital marketing, definitely. But really as part of your power team, and then the follow-up question again, sorry, Caleb?
The second question was...
Like what would you put in the kit?
Yeah,
a starter kit?
Like a starter kit.
Definitely aspirin, because you're gonna have headaches. Yeah, or whiskey, whatever knocks you out. No, but so as part of the power team, you definitely need the cleaners. If you're trying to do something that's at scale, you can have one person, a great cleaner who can go in. You have, say, a bunch of 1-bedroom units. She can clean like 3 in a day. Awesome. She needs to have flexibility because it's not like a normal cleaning schedule. She can be cleaning on Saturdays, Sundays, anytime during the week. They don't have a specific schedule. I would make sure that you have that cleaner. I would have an insurance broker as part of your power team. I got a great insurance broker. If anybody wants to talk to him, I will be happy to make an introduction. I'm sort of, because of all the questions I keep asking him, he is becoming a short-term rental experienced insurance broker. So he knows all sort of the little tricks and nuances. There's all kinds of weird things. And he's super fast and he's digital and it's so weird for a guy who lives out in the country. So for a starter kit, one of the things that I do, this isn't a starter kit, but I have a backup storage, a backup kit on site. So the backup kit is what could go wrong, what do I need? I have batteries, I have flashlights, I have cleaning supplies in case my cleaner can't make it and I have to hire somebody else, I have the cleaning solutions there for them. And sort of a basic cleaning kit, maybe not a deep clean, like they won't have a mop, they won't have all that stuff, but they'll be able to do the basic clean. I'll have extra coffee, extra toilet paper, extra paper towel, any of those consumables. I try to store on site in a locked away so that the guest can't go, oh wow, this guy has got 30 extra rolls of toilet paper and it's COVID, I must take it, right? So there's all kinds of ways that you can do that. Really, it's all up here. It's all the information that what a what to do. I would definitely what we do in our management company is we actually have an onboarding fee, and part of that onboarding fee covers photos. It covers one camera, and it covers an electronic lock, the bare minimum. If they want to get a noise detection device, that's on them. We highly, highly, highly recommend it for some 2s, but mostly 3s and 4s, for bedrooms, because what the party places are. And if you know you're in a city like Pittsburgh, apparently is party central. You could be a 1-bedroom, they'll fit 50 people in there, no problem. So, any other questions online? No? Okay. Any other questions here? Sorry, Dennis.
So I know you talk about Airbnb and VRBO. Do you choose this apartment or this place is in an Airbnb, or are you able to do both?
Do both. Yeah. So to let you know the technical side, they all share what's called an iCal. So that's your internet calendar, right? So you can, and that's where a channel manager comes in. So you can have it on. So the question is, if you didn't hear online, do we choose an apartment or a unit specifically for Airbnb or VRBO, or can we do both? The answer is both, because we can have it on that channel manager, which then lists it across everything. It takes a lot of some setup to do, but once you have it across a whole bunch of these, you can actually do 10, 12, 20 different platforms, and then you're just seeing all those eyeballs when you have a digital marketer on your power team. And you get more eyeballs on it, and so you're going to be able to get it going.
Actually, I do have a question about
Yeah, last question, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah?
Do you use the exact same wording on each platform, or do you change the wording?
Fortunately, I do nothing. It automatically will copy it from, so the way our channel manager works is that I build it on Airbnb, it imports it into the channel manager, and then it pushes it out onto everything else. That's all I have to do. I just have to set up an account on those different platforms, and then it will automatically take care of posting everything for me. Yeah, you got it. All right.
I'm gonna pass it over to Daniel.
All right, so Daniel, I think we're ready to go over to you. You got some special stuff?
Yes.
All right, so how are we feeling today? Come on now. Come on, Zoom. I need to see the hands up like the Drew. Okay, I see you, Mahar. I see it, Dina. Come on now. Now, if you haven't already at this point, if you could just do me a solid, turn on the camera one time. There's over 30 people on the Zoom, so it don't look like a lot, but there's a lot of people. I see we got people all the way from Alberta in person and virtually as well, and so really glad to see everybody. But I do got to get to the winner of the dashboard contest. And if you haven't already seen online, if you go on the dashboard, you will see Daryl Allen be the winner for the dashboard. And so, congratulations. $200 toward his Airbnb so he can get started, he can get going. So maybe it's that camera system. You never know what it could be, but it's going to be one step closer to getting it up and going, which is awesome. And so really appreciate everybody tuning in today. I hope you got some real good value. Just light up the chat one time for Keith and Allison online. Light up the chat. Just say congrats. Put up an emoji, something. Let them feel the love. All right. So, and we just want to say thank you so much for spending your Saturday with us. Our goal is that you have the tips and tools and the strategy so that you can get things going today onward and keep it going. There, now it's coming in. I see it. All right. I love it.
Get them to take a photo.
Yes. Let's take a photo real quick.
Like the people online?
Yes. If you do us a favor, we're taking a picture. There's Catherine. I see you. I love it. Turn on the camera just one time so we can document this photo, this event. All right. Boom, just like that. Want to thank you so much for tuning in once again. This has been the SDR Weekend Tactical Workshop with Blue Ocean Property Group featuring Keith and Allison. Really, really appreciate y'all for coming. And so until next time, if you got any more questions, you want to connect further, maybe you want to do business with them, definitely reach out to them. You'll see them on Facebook, on Instagram. You'll definitely be able to connect with them as well. If you haven't watched the webinar that we did the other week, definitely check that out as well. And I'll see you in the next CashFlow Tribe event. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you soon.
Woo, everybody.
Thank you.